Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more pre-modern action. Today we are playing some Landstill, but without standstills. Ordinarily, a blue-white control deck like this would be built around this card here, Standstill. So you would play this, and if your opponent casts anything, you get to draw 3 cards, but if you have to cast something, they draw 3 cards. Now obviously, you're engineering the situation, so you've got a bunch of man lands, and this is going to be fine for you to do. However, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you can't cast Standstill, and that it makes your card draw spell in your control deck unusable in some situations, which to me feels like a problem. And one of my friends was saying, why doesn't somebody just play 4 accumulated knowledge instead of the Standstill? Then you're always going to be able to use these. And I was like, let's try it out. The ceiling on accumulated knowledge is obviously lower than Standstill, because this can warp the game. Your opponent can be just locked underneath your like Dust Bowl and Manlands doing their things. But the floor on Standstill is abysmal, whereas the floor on accumulated knowledge is fine. It's just going to be drawing you some cards, and we're just sort of going to bring up the floor of our deck, and hopefully that's going to be a good idea. Because when you're behind, Standstill is bad. When you're behind, all of a sudden, accumulated knowledge can draw you 2 or 3 cards and get you right back in the game. So that's the logic we're trying to work with here, because we're a control deck. We might be playing from behind until we've won the game, basically. So the rest of this deck is pretty much just the same as a regular Landstill deck. So we've got ourselves some mana lands in the form of Mishra's Factory and Faerie Conclave. We've got a Dust Bowl. We've got some of the lands you would expect. We've got a Kor Haven as well, so we can mess with our opponent's creatures on that front. We've got good removal like Swords to Plowshares and Wrath of God. A wonderful suite of counter magic including Counterspell, Prohibit and Mana Leak. And to supplement our accumulated knowledges, we've also got Fact or Fiction as card advantage and Impulse as card selection. We've also got a win condition in the form of Decree of Justice, so we can just make a bunch of guys and turn them sideways. We've got some Disenchants and some Powder Kegs to clear up some other bits that might hit the table. And of course a Humility, which is very good with manlands, because the way layers work means that when we turn this into a creature, it's going to be the thing that we turn it into. So it's going to be better than all the 1/1s on the board. And that's pretty much what we're playing today. The sideboard is pretty much just a stock Landstill sort of sideboard. Maybe there's a little wrinkle in here because we're running Thawing Glaciers, which is a tech I've seen a few people adopting for like the slow control matchups where you can just use this to draw an extra card every other turn. And that's quite a strong thing to be doing. We've got like Crypts, Faerie Response, Hydroblast, Annul. I just want to say something quickly about Hydroblast here. I've seen a lot of people running Blue Elemental Blast over the Hydroblast, and I think that's completely wrong right now. Because if you look at the way that some of the burn decks are configured in this format right now, there are some builds running Black Vice. And what Hydroblast allows you to do is you can target anything with it. It only blows it up or counters it if it's that colour, but you can target anything. So if you just need to get cards out of your hand in an emergency, you can Hydroblast whatever. So I think this is just a strictly better card than Blue Elemental Blast in the red matchup. It's rarely going to come up, but in that like 1% of games where it does come up, you'll be glad you have a Hydroblast instead of a Blue Elemental Blast when they just sat on like Curse Scroll and Black Vices draining you out. But yeah, pretty much just a Landstill deck, but with 4 accumulated knowledges instead of the Standstills. And I'm curious to see how this pans out. I imagine it's going to be mostly fine, but it could just be a revelation and be the way forward. Who knows? It also does play with a lot of what our deck's trying to do better, because we're doing a lot of draw-go action for the most part here, because we've got all these counterspells we want to hold up. So sometimes when you have Standstill, you play the Standstill out, and then your opponent just resolves something. And then, oh, they've resolved something that's better than me drawing 3 cards, like a Survivor of the Fittest. So that means you need to wait later to play the Standstill. But if you're waiting later, then maybe it's not going to be as good a spot because your opponent's got more time and mana to deploy things underneath your Standstill. So you just end up in this awkward situation, whereas here, we can just hold up counter magic all the time. And if not, we can just cash in and accumulate knowledge and play a bit like some of the Psychotog decks where they can just hold up instant speed interaction, then occasionally just draw and select for cards. We can have that sort of game pattern and then sort of snowball into the Decree of Justice as our finisher. Alright, I think it should be an interesting experiment. I'm pretty optimistic that it's going to be solid. So like, subscribe, check out my YouTube membership program. It's only $2 a month and you get to see all of my videos early, which is usually 1 or 2 weeks worth. And it supports me, which is always nice as well. Alright, let's do some Standstill-less Landstill? I don't know. If you've got a good name for this deck, by all means let me know. But let's jam. If you're in the UK, make sure you don't miss out on the next edition of the Big Smoke Quarterlies. These are a pre-modern tournament run in London. They're always a lot of fun, and if you top 8 the event, you do qualify for the Big Smoke Invitational, which I am actually running myself towards the back end of the year. where we take the top 8 of all of the 4 quarterlies and they play off in a double elimination tournament to see who is the 2026 champion. So if you're in London on the 5th of September, why not sign up in the link in the description of this video. We're on the play. We've only got a colourless land. We're going to ship this one. This hand is very slow, but we have some tools that we can sort of ease ourselves into the game with, like the Mishra's Factory, which can block. If we're holding up blue mana, our opponent's probably going to respect that. What do we want to keep here? Maybe the Decree is a thing for later. Although we got all these lands, so it's not a bad place to be. I would like to keep 7 cards, but that's not how this works. Alright, I'll put the Decree away. And because we're on the play, we can lead off on the Conclave. I really hope our opponent doesn't have main deck Sarbo's Web, because that could be bad news for us. There are a handful of decks in the format that do run the main deck Sarbo's Web. Alright, Wasteland, same deal I guess. So our opponent is probably not playing the most combo of decks. I think we just lead off on this plane so we can access this source to Plowshares. Generally speaking, your Wasteland decks are going to be mid-rangey or mana denial plans. A basic mountain. It's a little bit unusual to go with a Wasteland. Could be some sort of Ponza. Let's just play out our lands. And now our opponent is going to be considering mana leaks and prohibits from us. Rushdown Port. He's going to get mono red Ponzed. I'm going to tap down the blue, I assume. There it goes. But if our opponent wants to play a long game, that's not the worst for us. We've got a lot of lands in our deck. Mountain, we're going to see a Pillage here, or a Stone Rain. A Goblin Matron. Alright, so it is just goblins. Sure. What are you going to reveal to me? Ringleader. Probably what you want against a control matchup. Just get more cards in your hand. Yep, there it is. I've got Kor Haven. So we've got this Mishra's Factory, which can block and beat the Ringleader in combat. We can't Counterspell here, which is quite annoying. We could Factual Fiction in the end step if we get that little window. Put some more lands in our hand. There is the Ringleader. I don't think they attack into the factory. That's quite a good selection. They've just drawn 3 cards there. They will have to go to clean up here. Are they going to shove? Or are they just going to get a critical mass and then start shoving? We're hoping that the factory deters them. Right, it did deter them. So now we get to smash off this Factual Fiction. One of the best cards to resolve in Magic Gathering. Just a really fun time for everyone. Interactive draw spells. Alright, the accumulated knowledge, you can put that into the graveyard. That just turns this next one on. Are you going to give me this pile? I would very much like to take this pile of 3 as it stands. Oh, wowzers, trousers. Yes. I would love to draw those 3 cards. Thank you. And now they have to get a clean up off of that Ringleader. So it was more card filtering than card advantage, which is good for us at least. This Disenchant is going to be super dead, and we don't run anything like Latnam's Legacy to shuffle it back in and get rid of it. I'm a big lover of Latnam's Legacy. Okay, so they know we've got the 2 counterspells, or the mana leak and the counterspell. We actually have 2 of the card called counterspell, but you know what I mean. They've seen 2 of our counterspells. We've also got Plow here. Let's just play out this island for now, because we just need the blue mana. We might need a second white mana later on, so keeping this Flooded Strand in reserve for when we want to be doing like Wrath of God makes a lot of sense. So they binned off an Incinerator. They can keep us off of one thing, but they can't keep us off of everything. Sure, you can have a Mog Fanatic. We're going for the King, or just another Matron. I think I am willing to fire this off. Are we attacking with a Ringleader here? Because I can trade the Ringleader and the Fanatic for my factory. Am I willing to take that trade? I could block with the factory, wait for them to ping. Although if they ping, I guess it depends when they ping, doesn't it? Am I willing to make this trade? 2 of their bodies for 1 of my cards. Yes, I think I am. I would kind of like to convert this accumulated knowledge. If we pump this, we don't get to do that. Is it more important just to trade this trade here or to force this other body? I think we should just force the other body out. Take the 2 for 1. And we can draw 2 cards with this AK when we need to. Our opponent cleverly, correctly waiting for us to have the damage settled first. Because also, using this Mishra's Factory before our opponent finds a Wasteland or something makes a lot of sense too. Okay, we've got Counterspell. We've got some Decree of Justice action as well. They can port us off of the actual factual Counterspell. So maybe we were supposed to convert the Counterspell last turn instead of the mana leak. But then they can just play around the mana leak. So it's an awkward one. A Goblin King. We can clean this up with a Plow. I think I'm going to accumulate knowledge first. Alright. I think we do take the 2 here just so we can counterspell any creatures they want to play in the second main phase, like a Pile Driver. And if not, we will just plow this in the end step. Use our life total. There's a little bit of a resource there. We've got plenty of cards. I'm going to draw lands now. Our hand is super stacked. Sure, it's a land. We've got an accumulated knowledge for 3 in our hand now, which is going to be ridiculous. Certainly looks better than a standstill. Just going to be pointing out every single time. I'll also point out when it looks worse than a standstill, so don't worry about that. Right, the Wasteland can take out our Kor Haven. I'm just going to let that mana burn off. Like, we can try and catch an AK here, but I'd rather just have Counterspell and Prohibit up. Taking 1 damage from this Matron is not going to make a difference. At some point, we're just going to do a Decree, and then the game's going to end. Are they just going to push through our Counterspells? They've played a guy that is not really good enough to warrant us doing anything about it. Smart. Alright, sure, you can have this. They're probably going to be porting us on our turn. Let's just cash in this AK. I'm more than happy to go to discard and discard a Disenchant at some point. Because this card is blank. Oh, okay. Not bad. So they're probably going to port down one of our islands here. You got it. Wouldn't mind this additional blue source. Yeah, we're just going to go to clean up and get rid of this Disenchant. Feels like this game is not unlosable, but very much in our favour. Right, crack that Wooded Foothills. They've got Siege Gang Commander over there. We've got a Prohibit for a little thing and a Counterspell for a big thing. Right, they're going to port us off of this. I'll obviously float. I suspect they're just going to pass. Get in for a little bit of damage here. That's fine. Goblin Pile Driver. Do I cash in the Prohibit here? Maybe that baits them into resolving another one. And then we can wrath the board. I think the way that this will change how our opponent plays this game is worth doing. Because now it just looks like it's a mana leak. We've already used one. Okay, so now they're going to play out the other one. So I don't know if they do this if we don't counter. But maybe they do and we just get the big sweep up. Let's crack this for another island. Cash in this Wrath of God. Sweep their board. And now we've got a counterspell they can't port us off of. So we can counter someone like a Siege Gang. Anything else we can just plow. And then I think we are in a good spot. There is a Siege Gang. That's the sort of thing I would like to counterspell. Because it brings so many extra bodies with it. So now they can try and resolve something else if they want to. They've only got 1 card in hand. Yeah, this game is over, I think. Mana leak, just some extra resources there. Like, we could cycle this Decree just to get some guys out. It's 4 power. It's not bad. They're also 1/1 guys, which are pretty good into goblins anyway. A Gem Palm Incinerator. You got it. I don't care about this. I'm just going to cycle this Decree, I think. Get 4 1/1s and another card. Got a plow. I don't even think we need to plow this. Gonna port what? The Dust Bowl. Sure. We got pretty similar times on the clock, which is good news. Another Factual Fiction. Sure, I'll poke with 2 guys and hold 2 guys back. We can just start converting some Factual Fictions. We've got plows. There's no way we lose this game. Sure, I don't care about Mog Fanatic. Goblin Ringleader, on the other hand, no thank you. Managing to get this Mana Leak doing work on turn 12. Nice to see. Our opponent might scoop to this Factual Fiction. Many times have people scooped the old Factual Fiction. Alright, Decree of Justice. I will choose the Decree of Justice is fine. If we draw a land, we can just make 2 4/4 angels. I think that's fine. Sure, you can put down my planes. Again, we'll jab in with a couple of these. But even if our opponent does play something pretty good here, like the best thing they could probably play is a Ringleader into something else. But we've got double plow, and the angels will keep their creatures back anyway, and we can just start turning them sideways. Like, just draw a land. Okay, game is over. Untap them with Counterspell. Our opponent's got nothing. We got plows. I'm going to tap down my Dust Bowl. You got it. 1, 2, 3. Tap them all. Apart from, leave just a couple back. Like, we can just be super safe here. Accumulated Knowledge is looking so much better than a Standstill here. We don't need to kill this yet. We can kill it later on. Sure, you can tap down my factory. Attack with these. We could have attacked with everything and just won the game here. My brain was not in winning the game mode. It was in not losing the game mode. But yeah, that was just a free win. Like, they're not going to win this game anyway. But we could have won that turn. In case of my diamond shoes being too tight. You can attack me for 1. They're just trying to burn a tiny bit of time off our clock, I guess. It's fine. Okay. Very happy with our deck and its performance in that game. Goblins is normally a pretty even matchup for Landstill. So I think our one slight change I do think has made a difference. Hydroblasts seem good. Cop Red seems good. Teferi's response seems reasonable as well. Disenchant, rubbish, get out of here. I don't actually like Powder Keg that much in the matchup. It can blow up a bunch of their 1/1 guys. Yes. However, a lot of their creatures have got higher mana values, so you've got like Siege Gangs and Ringleaders and Matrons, so it's just hard to actually leverage this. I'm going to take this one out. Are we just upgrading some of our counter spells? I think Mana Leak is something that our opponent can play around with, play around quite easily. Let's get rid of those, keep the Hydroblast in. Humility, Wrath of God, Decree, all this stuff's pretty good. Maybe we'll trim a couple of counter spells as well, because they can port us off of the blue. So we've just got a couple of hard counters here. Prohibit is often going to be a hard counter apart from against the Siege Gang. But again, we've got these 4 Hydroblasts we've just upgraded our deck with. And we drew a blank card that game. Pretty happy with how that all looked. How much do I want to lose to a Wasteland here? I don't think I want to keep this one. Just give me some basics. This hand is a bit slow. It's asking for a lot to go right. But can we realistically go to 5 in a matchup that's actually quite grindy? We are going to fail the lackey test with this hand. No, I think we have to mulligan. Oh dear. Okay, we just have to keep at this point. I think we are putting back probably the Wrath. That's the thing that's furthest away. Yep, this is not a great hand at all. Yep, so we fail the lackey test unless we draw an island right now. Island. Trying to will it into existence. The mana lands are certainly not free, but they do allow you to have more space for answers because you've got less space dedicated to win conditions. Alright. They wasteland me, then we're just out of here, I think. I suspect it's going to be as bad as possible. So we're thinking Siege Gang here. Or War Chief. Ringleader, yep. Just have 4 mana free. Alright, and there was a lot of good stuff in there as well. Yikes. So I can play another lackey, which is a problem for us. Alright, no, they're just going to port us. Sure, you got it. I will be blowing up this lackey now. Destroy target opponent if it's red. Goodbye, Goblin Lackey. A Dust Bowl. Alright, we'll play out the factory. It can at least do some blocking at some point. Wooded Foothills. It's time for Goblin War Chief, I think. There it is. It's a good one. Flooded Strand. I think we go and get a Plains, play this circle, and then we're probably just going to Hydroblast this War Chief while we can. Take another hit for 2, and then just sit behind our circle like a good old coward. They could naturalize this. If they take a turn off to naturalize this, it's not the worst for us. Right, there's a lackey. We can prevent this from dealing us damage to stop its ability. And there is the pile driver. Okay, so there's no Rishtan port coming our way, which is nice. We do unfortunately take 2 here, but we can prevent the damage from the 2 scariest things. Probably just take a chip shot for 2. Coastal Tower or Dust Bowl here. I think we just need to get more colours online. So it's Coastal Tower. This is just going to be a spend all of our mana on Circular Protection turn. And then we're working towards Wrath of God, I guess. I think it's safer to just zone this off. So let's pay 1 for this. Choose this one. Pay 1 for this. Choose this one. And then pay 1 for this. Choose that one. So we don't take any damage this turn, but our opponent can then deploy more things. If they deploy more things, they open themselves up to potential Wrath if they aren't porting us. Am I willing to convert an Impulse here? I think I am. Right, we're looking for some very specific cards. Ooh, a Red Blast. Sure. But we can prevent these 2 and just take 3. Ooh, a Humility. That's the sort of card that we've been looking for. But we can prevent 3 damage this turn. Or 3 instances of damage. Which actually ends up being a lot more than 3 because this pile driver likes to clonk in for enormous amounts of damage. Alright, so you're going to port this. I will, in response, activate my Circle of Protection, targeting your Goblin Pile Driver. A Goblin War Chief, sure. Obviously, Wrath of God is a banging draw here while our opponent is just committing all their stuff to the board. I guess we'll stop the Lackey just in case. Stop the War Chief. So we're going to take 3 this turn. We can slam a Humility, which will strip out their ability to do that much. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd rather they wasteland our Dust Bowl if that's the thing they're going to be doing. Alright. They still just have 5 damage in play though. So a Wrath of God would have been better than the Humility for sure here. We're still going to prevent the damage from Pile Driver because if our opponent just naturalizes... I guess the trigger's already gone at that point, so it doesn't matter. But Amog Fanatic, sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to get ported here. Just is what it is. Swords to Plowshares. Not unhelpful. Let's get rid of this War Chief forever. Prevent this damage. Prevent this damage. So we're going to take 2 and go to 3 here. Scope Prospector. Wrath of God is obviously the best draw in our deck. A Decree of Justice, also pretty darn good. An Island. Honestly, not so bad. We have enough mana to prevent the damage from all of their creatures. And just stall this game out until we can find what we're looking for. We don't have any life gain in our deck though. And they're going to pull down the factory here. We are dead if they find a naturalize. Remember, this is off of Mull to 5 and a pretty sketchy hand where they connected with a Lackey on turn 2. Alright, I'm just going to prevent all the damage this turn. They could be porting on our turn to force 1 damage through on their turn. A Ringleader with no abilities. Wrath of God, please. Not a Wrath of God. I will take another land. It just maintains this holding pattern that we're in until we can find this Wrath of God. Right, we're going to attacks. We're preventing all the damages, much to the problem of our clock just getting lower and lower. Wrath of God. It wasn't a Wrath of God. It was a land, though. So that gives us an extra prevention. Right, prevent all the damage again. A Mod Fanatic. Sure. Wrath of God, please. So our opponent is now doing the thing that we said they could have done a couple of turns ago to force single points through. A Hydroblast. That's probably not going to resolve, truth be told. They convert a Red Blast and they get a point of damage through, so it's just not worth us trying to use. Because what would they not have committed to the board would be a Red Blast, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they are going to get 1 point of damage through here. I wonder what they port down. If they port down a blue source, we can just fire off this Hydroblast. They're probably just going to keep porting the factory, I would imagine. Yep. There it goes. Wrath of God. Not a Wrath of God. We could 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we can't do that. We could do that next turn and just try and dig for the Wrath. Because we are slowly falling down. So I think that's what we have to do next time. They port us, we cast Fact or Fiction. If there's a Wrath in there, we just play that. Our opponent might be keeping a Hasty Guy in hand. Right, more clicks. We're also dead just to naturalize at any point now. So here is our big turn. They're going to put us down. We're going to cast a Fact or Fiction. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fact or Fiction. Show me the Wrath of God. Or are we just done here? If we don't find it, then we're kind of dead. So here is the Red Blast. What is our solution to this Red Blast? If we Hydroblast back, they just split the piles. But I guess we just have to do this. There could be 2 Wrath of Gods. Then they just put both of them together and we're dead. Yeah, our opponent should just be able to navigate this one. Let's just see the piles. Nope, we're dead. We can go to game 3. Only got 7 minutes to close this one out. But it should be doable. That was a mulligan to 5. We were very close. Couldn't quite get over the edge there. Do I actually want this Powder Keg just as more sweepers? Maybe that's something I'm interested in. Maybe we don't need the Terror Fairy's response. We just have a Powder Keg in. Because I did have a lot of 1-drops that time. Which is not always the case. Plow and a Dream. I think we have to mulligan this. We need multiple land drops. Alright. I can live with this one. Turn 1 Coastal Tower. Turn 2 Powder Keg. Doesn't really pass the Lackey test, unfortunately. Alternatively, we get rid of the Coastal Tower and just have non-wastelandable lands. That seems fine. Make them think about Hydroblast, so perhaps they lead off on a Mog Fanatic. Although, I think you just lead off on the Lackey anyway. Alright, they did have the Lackey. Now would be a great time to draw a Source to Plowshares. Did not draw a Source to Plowshares. I will play out this Mishra's Factory. Do I play out the Keg or do I hold back the Factory to block with? I think we hold back the Factory to block with. A Wasteland here is bad. A Rishdam Port is bad. There is the Port. Now we don't get to convert anything this turn. That is absolutely savage. Yep. We have 8 answers to Goblin Lackey. as 1-drops. Okay, just a matron. That's not actually as bad as it could be. Like, yes, it is 3 mana worth of spell. But this probably just goes to get them a ringleader. We can hopefully stop this lackey coming in. A Kor Haven. Not the one I wanted. Alright. We just have to deploy the keg here. Hold up what looks like a source to Plowshares. If we did deploy this last turn, we could have blown up the lackey this turn. They would have just got the one thing in. So I think maybe our play to hold up the factory was just wrong. If we had an instant, like a counterspell or an accumulated knowledge, then I think that makes more sense. But that's not what we had. So I think we did just make a mistake there. And now get to start pulling us in our upkeep, which is obviously horrible for us. So this is almost certainly going to put the ringleader in, unless they've got something even better. Yep, I assume it's the ringleader, and now they get a bunch more cards to put in next time. Ooh, they get nothing. Good news for us. Now we can tick up the powder keg, unless they blow it up. Matron, sure. They're just going to go get another ringleader. Makes sense. Unless they've got something spicy. Nope, just the ringleader. We get an untap here. So we can put a counter on the keg. An impulse. It's not doing much for us, is it? Okay, I think I'll play this one out. We're probably just going to Factual Fiction, just get a load of cards. Because I suspect they're going to port down our factory before they attack. Yeah, that's a good one. Means they're not playing their ringleader this turn, though, which is good news for us. Let's crack this. I think we need a second white as our removal colour. A little bit shields down here. Okay, Wrath of God. I like this. They probably split the Wrath of God in the land. They can't be giving us this 4-1 pile. That makes no sense. Alright, I'm going to take the bigger pile. Wrath of God versus the world. Do like having access to that land. Pretty good pile there, opponent. Pretty good pile. We already have a decree, though. But I want the land for the existing decree we have. I think we do just take the Wrath. They have a port. Alright, let's just get rid of this lackey so they didn't get anything for free. Taking a chunk. Fnatic is good. They're going to port us off of one of our... They might just port us off of the blue source. They're not expecting us to have... I know they are going for a white source. Do I just convert this impulse right now looking for a plow? I think that's reasonable. Hydroblast is pretty strong here. We don't have a blue source right now. Factory can sit block. Alright, I'll take the factory. Yeah, this one is going to be pretty close. Do you just port down my factory and attack? It's a big swing. It's like half of my life total because the Mog Fanatic puts us functioning at 10. I think I like that from our opponent if that's what they go for. But then it does expose them to the Wrath is the problem. And we just take the free block on the Matron. Puts us to 7, so we're effectively at 6. Oh, and the second port. Could you stop that, opponent? Are we just cycling this decree for 1? Maybe. Just getting a 1-1 particularly good value here. It doesn't feel particularly good value. We could just draw a card with it. I think we just have to let it go, though. And use this factory, although they're just going to port it down. Oh, this is tough. The second port, really good. But most of this game is brought to you by Goblin Lackey. Because if they don't have the Lackey, then they need to spend their mana, and then we get to develop as well. So just sort of a nice collection of what Goblins can do being shown off here. Let's activate the factory. They can port this down, but then it frees up mana on our turn, so maybe we can draw a second white source. But we know they've got this hasty guy, which is a bit of a problem. Block here. Pump itself so that it can beat the ringleader and survive. They're on 5. Right, they're going to finish off the factory. So they probably need to commit another creature to the board here. But then, like, they could just try and get the last 5 damage across. I just don't think that's going to work very well. Are we making a 1-1 here? Our opponent should let this mana burn off and then do it in the draw step. But they didn't show willingness to do that before. Let's just cycle this for 1. It's not exciting. But it's a blocker and another card. Maybe we'll draw a land here that we can cast as Plow. We didn't, but we have double Plow. So when they start tapping our planes, we can at least get a little bit of value off of that. So we're going to see the ringleader here, I assume. Just gassing up. They could just go for something smaller, like a pile driver. War Chief. War Chief is real strong. A War Chief plus ringleader? No, just the War Chief. Alright, I think I'll take my trade and go to 3. Our opponent doesn't have direct damage outside of the Mog Fanatics. We've already seen one of them. So we'd have to draw all 3 remaining Mog Fanatics to kill us. Alright, we're almost in a safe space. Alright, let's just plow this War Chief. I think the main thing that is going to beat us is going to be the clock here. Obviously our opponent's been doing a lot of stuff that's pretty good at trying to beat us as well. Not drawing lands has been annoying. We've lost a couple of lands along the way though, so it's not like we just had none. We don't get to prohibit this. Alright, just going for the port and just playing it nice and slowly. Makes a lot of sense. We're porting down the island. Porting down the plains. Are we cycling this decree for one? Just to have some defense. I think we are. I hate it, but it's what we're doing. Source of Plowshares. Can we draw a white source for our turn? That would be useful. We did draw a white source, but how useful is it is the next question. We're pretty low on win conditions, and we don't have a lot of time left. Caller of the Claw. It's just a guy. Nothing died. So play the ringleader, attack with both guys. We take one to plow. Goblin War Chief. Hate that for us. We're going to play another guy and just try and overwhelm us right now. They are. We are deterministically dead here because of this land right. If we plow, we go to 2, and then either of these kills us. Nope. They managed to thread the needle there. I think a lot of this came down to the game 2, where we had to mull to 5, and we just couldn't find what we needed. These games are pretty close. I'm definitely glad we're not running Standstill in this matchup, though, because it feels pretty awkward at times to get that down. Like, yeah, there are situations where you can just slam it, but there's always something you have to be managing on the board, usually. And it helped us come back from a spot where maybe we weren't doing as much. So, proof of concept, all right there. This is a matchup that is pretty even for the old Landstill matchup anyway. I think we've probably got a few more extra percentage points in it. Let's go to round number 3. Have you got magic cards you don't want taking up space in your home, or do you just need some extra spending money? Well, my lovely sponsors, 3for1 Trading, are buying all collections, big and small. They are one of Europe's biggest traders and have a transparent process to sell them cards and make sure you're getting a good deal. Click the link in the description of this video to get an offer on your cards today. Alright, we got some lands, we got some spells. I hear that's good. I don't know if we want to be using Factory or not. Okay, this could be a Dreadnought matchup. Let's lead off with the plains. We can just play draw go. We've got plenty of land drops to make. Double counterspells in our hand. Very nice. An opt. Yep, definitely getting those Dreadnought vibes. Sleight of hand. You got it. Sleight of hand isn't the thing you always see in Dreadnought, so this could be a form of grow instead, which would have similar play patterns. Yeah, I think it's more likely to be grow, which I assume has to be a really good matchup for us. Sure, I'll play our factory. Well, they're cracking now. This might mean that they want the cards they put on the bottom with sleight of hand. Another island. A Mox Diamond. You got it. You can go down on cards just to get your mana. You can gush. Sure. A Meddling Mage. I will point a Mana Link at this. Alright. Back over to us. I'll just play out this other island, I think. I'm not going to attack. I would like the possibility of maybe playing a Fact or Fiction if our opponent plays something we don't care about. But we have to be a little bit concerned about days. Foil is also an option that our opponent has in their deck. Quirion Dryad. Sure, I will point a Mana Leak at this. The deck is not abundant with threats either. They have like 12 win conditions. Sure, you've counterspelled. Now you've got the Dryad. The Dryad is going to get plowed around a daze. Convert as Fact or Fiction while our opponent's tapped out. Just pull ahead on cards. I think we just take whatever the big pile is here. Sure, I'll take the big pile. A Psychotog. Sure. They're holding up Counterspell mana. I'd like to plow your Psychotog, please. A Counterspell. You got it. I would like to plow your Psychotog, please. Goodbye. Now, we'll just leave up this Accumulate Knowledge. We can start turning the corner soon with this factory. Redraw with this. I don't think our opponent's going to be interested in fighting over that. Will they fight over an impulse, though? Let's find out. No. Do you want a Faerie Conclave? I'll just take a Counterspell. We're very much in the zone right now. Let's get this Dust Bowl that our opponent didn't want to see earlier. Let's animate the factory. Get an attack in. At some point we'll draw a decree and the game will more or less end. In with the factory we come. They might just plow this or fire it. Sure. That's fine. The fewer cards of theirs I have to keep tabs on, the better. Another plow. Pretty happy about that one. About the island and just chill out. Alright, Fact or Fiction. This is going to be a difficult one for us to stick, I think. Feels like our opponent's going to save up for a big turn where they can get something stuck on the board. So we need to find the opportunity to fire off this Factual Fiction. Ideally, though, we just draw into the Decree. Mana Leak. Don't hate having more permission. Mana Leak is good for a big fight where they're already tapping down for stuff and we're countering and they're countering back. But it might not just 1-for-1 a random thing they play. So it might force us to lead off on the Counterspell rather than the Mana Leak. Alright, we're going to crack these Flooded Strands. Get another Plains. Another Island, I think. And we've got 1 Plains left in the deck. Good to know. And Accumulated Knowledge. We don't need to do anything with this yet. We can do this in our opponent's turn. Tax their resources. And then maybe untap into a Factual Fiction. Do they counter on Accumulated Knowledge? I don't know. This is a situation where Standstill might be okay. Because they don't have any way to play through it without popping it. Whereas we do. But this allows us just to hold up the maximum amount of things. So I think it's kind of similar here. Alright, Factual Fiction. Kind of interested in just firing this off. I don't think this will resolve, but I think that's also fine. Am I going to fight over this? I don't think so. Another Mana Leak. Sure. We're going to win a fight at some point with the resources we have. Although they can gush and just have lots of resources involving foils and whatnot. Right, if we just sit here playing Draw-Go, eventually we find Decree and they die. So this only has 1 fetchable. So we need to crack this before we go to our turn because we don't want to draw the last fetchable and just blank this land that we haven't played. Right, we're halfway through our deck and haven't found one of our 3 Decrees yet. Opponent's up to 6 cards in hand over there. Alright, doing something in the second main phase. Am I fighting over this? Sure, we can fight over this. Let's crack this, go and get ourselves. I think it's the Plains that's left. Got no basics left in our deck. And Accumulated Knowledge. Sure, I'm happy to accumulate some knowledge. Right, I'm going to go for an Accumulated Knowledge in response to their Query on Dryad. I've drawn a lot of cards here. Sure. I'd like to plow your Query on Dryad. We're going to have a little rumble. A Counterspell. I'd like to Mana Leak your Counterspell. You're going to pay. Then I would like to Mana Leak your Counterspell. Do you have a foil over there? No. Right, we can also just gas up again with the AK, drawing 4 cards. Alright, our opponent is not winning this game. I'll just play this factory out, just get the biggest Decree we can, and just put the game to bed. We could go and get some Angels, but I like holding up the Counterspell here. We could also take out their Mox Diamond. Feels like there's a gush on the horizon for our opponent there. Right, let's make 9 power instant speed. That's got to be pretty good. They can play something in the end stuff if they wanted to there, but they did not. Right, I think I will take out this Mox Diamond now. Just cut them off of their white spells. Alright, they've had enough. That was a pretty thorough dismantling, I thought. We're still at 19 life. They've got 12 threats. We've got a load of tools. What looks good here? Thawing Glaciers, if the matchup gets grindy, can be quite interesting. But honestly, it just feels like the main deck is where we want to be. They might have Winter Orb, so we're going to keep in a couple of Disenchants. Do I just want this Thawing Glaciers in, and what would I cut for it? I honestly don't know if there's anything we cut for it here. No, I think our deck's just perfect. Yeah, it's just going again. Sure. I would prefer to have some removal in this pile of stuff in case they just lead off on a threat super early. But they don't always, because they are very light on threats. Wrath of God. Okay, so we have a removal for later. I'm going to play around a 4 spike. Blue. Sarbo's Web. You got it. They probably don't have Winter Orb if they have Sarbo's Web. It's usually either or, but it's not a guarantee. I'll play this Adarkar Wastes so we can actually cast our Counterspell. If not, we can just cycle this Accumulated Knowledge. You can sleight of hand. Does not concern me. There's an argument that we board in the other Disenchant since we can hit their Mox Diamonds as well. I don't think they're interested in fighting over an AK. Just turn into another card. Good stuff. And we just play this just in case they do have a Daze. It's possible. As long as we hit land drops over and over, we'll be fine. That's the general gist of playing control deck. Just hit all your land drops and you'll profit. We've already got the Haymaker for the end game. I'll play out my Adarkar Wastes. Just this way we can have the Prohibit up. Also gives us Prohibit and Counterspell. I'm not going to try and play this AK because we'd have to go to cleanup and we don't need to do that. Another AK. Alright, let's get this coastal tower on the road. You're going to give me something to do? Feels like they have to start the fight because we have the instant speed threat and they don't. Kind of interested in... Do I want to do something about this Mox Diamond? I don't think so. We'll just let them have a card disadvantage on it. Yes, they could have had a white source anyway. So this might have been bait. I would like to prohibit this. What about a counterspell? And it worked. Good news. Let's play out a land. Do I want to fire in an AK right now? I think I'm cool with that. Ooh, Disenchant. I will take out your Mox Diamond, I think, here. I could take out this Sarbo's Web as well. But I want to represent Counterspell. We'll deal with the Sarbo's Web at some point. I could fire this off now. But if they do have a Winter Orb, we're going to feel pretty bad. Do I want to just fire in this AK? Is our opponent going to Counterspell an AK? Maybe. We don't need to do anything. We've got land drop. It's not a great land drop, but, you know, it'll add to the count of the old Decree of Justice. Maybe we will go for this Disenchant now. See if our opponent thinks it's important to us. It's not. Didn't feel like they had much pushback there. Let's go for an AK. Alright, we drew 3 cards there at instant speed. Feeling good about this one. We don't know. Our opponent's hand could just be a bunch of uncastable spells because their mana base in their deck is awful. Very susceptible to things we're doing. This is like a gush turn. That's fine by me. Are you going to be able to convert these cards or not? Without a Mox Diamond seems difficult. We are slightly worried about Armageddon as an option here. A Meddling Mage, so you can't cast Armageddon this turn. Do I just make a bunch of guys? I could just make a bunch of guys, or I could Impulse. I think I like the Impulse here. Fact or Fiction. I like that as well. I think we could have tapped that to that better. Alright, they're just letting us have it. Good news. Mana Leak versus... No, okay. I will take the big pile here, I believe. The Mana Leak does insulate us against Armageddon. I think I will take the Mana Leak just in case they're going to Armageddon us here. But I guess if they're going to Armageddon us, they'd have to have Mox Diamond. They're just going to end the Mana Leak now anyway. Maybe we're supposed to take the big pile. Yeah, I think we're about to get Geddoned here. But we've got 3 lands in hand. Yeah, there it is. Let's shoot this guy down. Yeah, I think that's the one card in their deck that we actually have some amount of fear over. But we got 3 lands in hand. Sleight of hand. We're sort of back to the beginning of the game again. I'll crack this for a blue source. We're back in it. We need a lot of lands to get these decrees doing their thing. Maybe just making the big decree was the right thing to do all along. Play in Adarkar Wastes. Our opponent's also behind on clock. Okay, we're just going to keep making land drops, I guess. Sure, you can have a Mox Diamond. You can pitch cards in this game that's probably about resources. Sure, I think I'll play out the Flooded Strand. I think there's an argument to play out the Mishra's Factory and maybe start getting the attacks in. But I don't really want to get one of my lands sourced to Plowshared. Or Fire Iced or whatever. And a good player will keep in some of their removal against a deck like ours, just so they can deal with the man lands. I might just do a little cycle, just get a couple of little guys. It gets us towards our next land drop as well. It moves the game state forward, which is also nice, and might dig us into some useful interaction as well. Alright, do you want a painless blue or a painless white here? Probably a blue. Things like Counterspell. Let's cycle this. Just make a couple of guys. A little grizzly bear's worth of damage for you. If they've still got Fire Ice in, which I don't know if they will, to be honest, then they can pick these off. Double Mana Leak, not a bad place to be. They do have the fire in still. Sure. Our Mana Leaks have got more important fish to fry. Looks like a gush turn. I want to stop my opponent drawing cards here. Alright. I decided against it. An Impulse. Cast an Impulse. Just looking for a land. Kind of like the Dust Bowl here, but I think we're going to go for the island. It just makes our life a little bit easier for casting both these Mana Leaks. If they gush now, then they end up with lots of cards in hand. So it'd have to be a Gush Geddon turn. Or they can just play out a bunch more Mox. Powder Keg would be a pretty good draw. Just blow up these 2 Moxen. Would have liked to have seen another land there, if I'm being honest with you. I think we're just going to discard a Wrath of God. The Mana Leaks are definitely losing a little bit of their luster. But we can't get Armageddon. I think it's possible to absorb 1 Armageddon in a turn, but not 2. A Meddling Mage. They can name Swords to Plowshares if they want to. We got Counterspells, we can make some guys. They didn't indeed name the Swords to Plowshares. This also shuts off their own Swords to Plowshares. They can't attack into our factory. Are we just going to make 3 guys? 3 guys doesn't seem that strong here. Alright, I think we just untap. Didn't draw a land. We get rid of the Mana Leak. They already know about the Mana Leak, so it's a likely thing that they put another Meddling Mage on. But we're just in this weird dance where we can't actually leverage our plows. Although they can't really attack into our factory either. We gush in. Playing out an island again. Playing a Quirion Dryad. I don't know if I want to start a fight here. I think I will use this Prohibit because it's kind of not that good. It's sort of running out of ways of being leveraged. Another Meddling Mage. I will Mana Leak this one because they'll probably name Wrath of God here. Right, we're going to counterspell that. We are. So now they name Wrath of God and that blanks all of our removal. Yeah, pretty good. They can't attack into the factory though. We do eventually just have this decree. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So we don't have enough to do a double angel. Because they don't beat double angel here. I don't think. Especially if we just go back-to-back double angels. But it's going to be hard to do unless they tap out. You got Dryad. Sure. That's the sort of thing that can beat the big angels. A Psychotog as well. Yep, you got it. Do we need to make a bunch of chump blockers and then into a bunch of angels? I think that's what we're going to do here. Cycle this. 1, 2, 3. Make a bunch of chump blockers and then make 8 power if we draw a land. We did draw a land, good. Alright, 8 power in the air, 4 power on the ground. So we can chump block the Psychotog and just hit our opponent for 8 3 times. Swords to Plowshares is off. They have ice, which can maybe buy them a turn here and there. We've also got man lands that we can leverage. Unless we get Armageddon. But we've kind of got what we need on the board. Plague is good. Plague is very good. Yeah, I think our opponent wins this one, but they are behind on time. I think we should be pretty good into them, generally speaking. So they got 10 power, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, this is very lethal. So we do have to block here, which is annoying. Powder Keg is the removal spell we need. So this is going to eat up some of our opponent's material as well. Which makes it harder to kill with a Tog in future turns. A Counterspell. Do we need to pressure our opponent or are we just chilling? I think we're just chilling and maybe trying to find another decree. Or a Powder Keg. We gush in again. We gush in. Sure. Yeah, I think our opponent does have this one now. If we can Powder Keg on 2 and take out their Meddling Mages, then the game becomes rudimentary to win though. So we do have to keep playing. Ice. You want to tap down my Angel token. You got it. Alright, we're going to continue to grow this Dryad. We do have to block the Tog, I think, still. We get a reasonable exchange, weirdly, here, because we take some material out. Right, this one is Summoning Sick. We've activated the wrong one. That's annoying. Alright. Make them use another piece of material. And then we'll Dust Bowl, blow up their City of Brass. So we get some use out of that Mishra's Factory that's blocking. Another Counterspell. Not the one we wanted there. Maybe we do want to board in the extra Disenchant. Mox Diamond, Sarve's Web and Plague are a few things that might be interesting to handle with it. Looks like another Gush. Yep, you got it. Humidity also cooks pretty hard here. If we can resolve it though. Which might be difficult given what our opponent's been up to. Alright, I would like to counter this Winter Orb. They have shown us the Winter Orb that we suspected they would have as well. I'm going to counterspell back. I'll also counterspell your Winter Orb. Yeah, Dryad obviously growing is not my favourite thing in the world. Tog is still lethal. We don't get to factory and do the thing here. We could gobble up all of this stuff. Do we just take the 8 here, or am I blocking here? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I don't know if I want to block with this actually. No, I think we just take the the Angel, stripping some cards out with the Tog, take 8 from the Dryad. Some of our opponent's cards in their hand will probably be Source to Plowshares as well. Okay, we didn't draw what we needed to draw. Alright, we are dead. Our opponent is a good sort of 4 minutes behind. Alright, let's have a little looky at our sideboard. I think we do want to have that extra Disenchant in. But that's probably all we want in here. Like, we could board in some Annuls. I think Disenchant is just better because it comes down after the fact and does some work. I think I'm going to trim an Impulse and just call it a day there. Okay, I don't mind this one on the play. The one way that this can go a little bit wrong for us is if our opponent leads off with a Mox Diamond and maybe plays something out. There's some people who are not playing Mox Diamonds in Grow. And, like, I think Grow needs to have, like, the ability to cheese people with Mox Diamonds and stuff. And it makes your Armageddon's better, which is, like, the best card in the deck. So I'm not really convinced in the don't play Mox Diamonds in Grow. I can certainly understand playing fewer Mox Diamonds and maybe not going for the full 4. But I think you want a relatively solid number of Mox Diamonds in your Grow deck. Let's crack this. Go and get our islands. So we've got Counterspell up. Sleight of hand. You go ahead. A little bit better than my cantrip. But these will obviously mount up. Another AK. Love to see that for us. Mana Leak as well. Just need to keep hitting land drops. As long as we draw lands, we'll be okay. Our opponent missed on land drop themselves. Let's gas up with this AK. Do you counter an AK for 2? No. Another AK. I just want a land now, not an AK. Alright, there we go. Flooded Strand. And we're good. So now we're in the holding pattern of not doing anything, just playing land drops. And hopefully we don't have to use any cards to hit land drops. Because that's when things can get a little bit awkward. It's got many counter spells here. We're not going to crack this. We want to have more lands in our deck that we can potentially draw. A Portent. You got it. A Kor Haven. Alright, I'll play this factory out. We've at least got land drops we can hit. I would like them to be lands that actually untap underneath the Sarbo's Web. But I'll just take a land drop. Flooded Strand. Beautiful stuff. Opponent also hitting some land drops. Just staring at one another. Play Kor Haven out, which also won't untap. Would like to get into a fight soon so we can start cashing in some of our draw spells. But if nothing changes, our opponent just loses the game in 4 minutes and 48 seconds. Or rather, 4 minutes and 48 seconds of their clock. A Q Dryad. I'm going to start cracking some lands here. I'm going to prohibit this. Yes, I know I've tapped all my lands. It isn't going to untap. But I'd rather have my blue mana up to fight here. Adarkar Wastes and go. Our opponent's having to go to cleanup. Source to Plowshares. By countering that Q Dryad, we kind of said that we didn't have a plow as well. We want to leverage the plows when we can, because they're a good name for meddling mages on our opponent's side of things. A Disenchant. I think I'm willing to fire this off on the Sarbo's Web. And I will tap my factory for it. We have to discard if we don't do this anyway. If they can fight over this if they want to, that's not really what this game is about. We've got access to 2 counter spells and a plow this turn. A meddling mage. I would like to... I think we want to counterspell this. I am worried about an Armageddon though. So they would have to have... Yeah, I think we just let this go. They're going to name Source to Plowshares. I just don't think we get to go shields down to some of the things our opponent can do. Alright, we've got a big burst of lag here, which is not great considering the amount of time left on this round. Well, Magic Online has crashed and is off for maintenance. So I guess that's the end of that round. I guess we call it a draw. I think it was poised to be a really good game, but our opponent's probably going to be up against it with the clock. It really depends what we're going to be drawing in the next few turns. I think in terms of the board state that was about to happen, I think we were going to be able to convert our Mana Leak onto the Meddling Mage. We didn't see any foils from our opponent's deck in the second game, so I don't think they're actually running foils, so we were pretty happy that our counterspell would work there. And then we can convert the AK that was in our hand and have a full grip ready to find ways to answer what our opponent's got on board. So I think we're actually in a position to win that one. But we'll never know. On to the next round through the magic of editing, but I've got to wait for this maintenance to finish. If you're looking for a big pre-modern tournament to flex your skills at, I recommend the European Premodern Championship taking place in Gdansk on the 5th and 6th of September. It might well be the largest pre-modern tournament Europe has ever held, so check out the link in the description of this video to register and see more details. So because Magic Online went down for maintenance, that last round is nullified, so we've still got 4 rounds to go, I guess. So let's strap in and do some more of this control-y action. Alright, we're into round 2.5, I guess. We can't keep this one because we don't have the supporting mana. Let's mulligan. A similar problem has arisen here. I don't think I can keep a 1-lander. Although we're on the draw, and any other land and we're good. We still have 2 draw steps to find it. We're at what, 26 lands? So we should definitely get on within 3 draw steps. We do have a little bit of interaction to get us a bit closer to where we need to go. Am I really going to keep this 1-lander or am I just going to multiply? I think we're just going to multiply. Okay, this has some problems of its own as well. Let's pop back a factory and a plains. I don't really like our chances here. Having to mulligan just to find a second land all the way down to 5 in a 26 land deck is kind of wild. Honestly, I could see playing additional lands in this deck. I just always want to be hitting land drops. Bloodstained Mire. Is this going to be burn of some description? The most common place you see Bloodstained Mire is in the mono red burn deck. Or Sly, as it's called. Mog Fanatic it is. I think we are playing out a factory in the hopes that we can do some blocking and keep our life total a little bit happier than it currently is looking like it's going to be, because we are in need of many resources. So we're going to take another hit here, but then we can sit behind a factory for a turn. Alternatively, we can play this keg, because if we play the factory and it gets blown up, it does take fire away from our face, but it's not ideal. I guess we just wait and see what our opponent is putting down. Another 1-drop that can easily remove our Mishra's factory if we try and block with it. And a Seal of Fire. Alright, I think this is going to be a Powder Keg turn. Do we want to play this one out? Or do we want to have a second factory just in case we need more factories? Alright, let's go for the Powder Keg. We can strip out the Lavamancer and force them to ping us with the Mog Fanatic next turn. It's not spectacular. If we get Ball Lightning here, I don't think we're going to win this one. No Ball Lightning. Unless it's the rare post-combat Ball Lightning, which I highly do not recommend. Although if our opponent does it, I'd be grateful. Sulfuric Vortex. Yup. We do have some disenchants in our deck, so we're not just completely stone cold dead to that. But it's probably going to kill us. I think a lot of this comes down to our mulligan being a bit deep. Certainly deeper than I would have liked. Ah, is that a white card, is it? So I guess the play here is activate a factory, attack for 2. Hopefully they try and seal a fire this and we can pump it with a factory. But otherwise we just take our 2 damage and be happy with it. And then we want to pop this before our opponent can activate their Lavamancer. So they can seal a fire and Mog Fanatic this if they want to. They're just going for our face though. We are certainly not winning this race. Although if we draw a land we can send for 4. If our opponent's not got much going on, maybe that works. They've only got 1 card in hand. It's going to be tough. Kor Haven, sure. We're just sending in the clowns, that's all we've got. Just we'll put our opponent to 10, then they go to 8 on their Vortex. But then we're going to go to 6 from the Vortex and the Lavamancer. And then we crack in for another 4. And then we die if they find any burn spell. But we're going to run it closer than I thought we were based on the first couple of turns of this game. And our opening hand, of course. Oh, Incinerate. We are super dead here. If they can find a way to trigger this Barbarian Ring before doing any Lavamancer stuff, then we are completely cooked. Like a fetch land here kills us, a burn spell kills us. Yep. And they can just ping us down. You got it, boss. Let's go to the sideboard game and see if we've got any tools that help us out here. Hydroblast. That seems like a useful one, and there is 4 of them. How much do we need to respect? Obviously, it's Copperhead. How much do we need to respect the Cursed Scrolls and Sulfuric Vortexes of the world? I think quite a lot. So I would quite like a Disenchant. I'm not really doing a lot of fact or fictioning here. Like, there's quite a slow card. Also, are we going to have the time to convert these impulses? And how do we feel about Counterspell requiring blue pips? That might be difficult given our mana base sometimes doesn't lead us towards that on the early turns and it kind of drops off a bit. Maybe we'll shave some of these because we're improving them with just 1 mana counterspells that are pretty much hard counters. We'll take out 1 fact or fiction. I don't hate the Wrath of God. I think it's fine. I could certainly see cutting it. But there will be situations where having it will be useful. So it's kind of an awkward one. We're just shaving a couple other little bits. Maybe we don't have enough time to be messing around with impulses. We need the cards that we need right there and then. Although this can obviously dig us towards some of our really big haymakers. Not that we have particularly big haymakers. We just have the 1 Copperhead. If we had like Sphere of Law in there as well. Maybe we could do things a bit differently. I'm not going to board in the Tormod's Crypts to deal with their graveyard. I'm also not going to board in the Annuls because they can just be dead cards too often. Whereas Disenchant is going to find targets because we don't need to have it in our hand the time they cast a thing. We can just draw it after the fact. Right, we've got Hydroblast. We've got an AK to redraw. Kind of move things forward. We've got a factory which can block potentially. What are you going to play here? Mog Fanatic. I think we allow that one. Price of Progress is definitely a thing we need to be somewhat worried about. I think I'm going to play out this factory. I don't want to activate this factory, but if our opponent has to stop their attacks because we have a factory, that's good for us. But they might try to do that just in a way to get us to tap some resources down. I'm just hoping that this dissuades them and then we can either use a Hydroblast or an AK this turn. The threat of factory is more what I want than the actual factory itself right now. Okay. We're just going to let that connect. Our opponent called our bluff. Nice for them. Let's get an AK, just recycle that card. A Wrath of God. Could be useful at some point. An Impulse. So if we play this one out, we can Hydroblast and Impulse, or we can cast Counterspell. So I think this turn we would rather cast the Hydroblast and the Impulse, because that's double spelling, using all of our mana effectively. We could also Mishra's Factory, block, and then hold up Impulse or Hydroblast. Am I willing to call my opponent's bluff? Not really a bluff here, is it? I think we just take the one and just have the maximum mana to do what we need. Our opponent not falling for our Mishra's Factory being untapped. Sulfuric Vortex. No, thank you. Counter target spell if it's red. Now we can Impulse. Obviously, Copbread would be the ideal thing to draw here. Decree of Justice. A Disenchant can cover the next thing like a Sulfuric Vortex. Decree of Justice is okay, but we kind of want that a little bit later. We've already got a land drop for next turn. I'm just going to take Disenchant. I think it covers our bases best for what we're most scared of, like the recursive sources of damage, like Curse Scroll and whatnot. I will play this out. I would like to Factor Fiction this turn. I don't know if we're going to get that opportunity though. Let's tap out for a Sulfuric Vortex. We can just take 2 from it, but still convert our Factor Fiction. I think we're going to take 1 from this Fanatic again. A Cursed Scroll. 4 cards in hand. We don't have to fight over that because we already have the answer that we selected earlier. I'm a little bit worried about a Pyroblast on our Factual Fiction, but if that's one of the cards in their hand, at least it's not shooting us in the face for a bunch. Just to try and secure some more land drops here. They are both pain lands, which is not ideal. We can go lands and spells. Oh wow. Okay, yeah, I'll take this pile of 3. Seems real good. Are you going to fire any burn at me in the end step when I'm tapped out? No. Appreciate that, opponent. Do we need to disenchant this right now? Our opponent's got 4 cards in hand. They could just go for a spin here anyway. We currently have Prohibit and Counterspell up. I think if they want to take a 1 in 4 chance at dealing us damage, I'm going to let them. Now, if the hand is all the same card, then that could cause us some issues. But we'll see how it lies. Are we going to go for a spin of the scroll? If they've got nothing else, it's worth it. Just take that 25% shot. But maybe it's higher than 25% because we don't know what's in their hand. Right, they didn't spin it. Interesting. Alright, our opponent's flooding out a little bit. That helps us out. I think this turn we can pull the trigger on animating the factory. We still have the 4 mana for the 2 spells we want, which is either Counterspell and Prohibit, or Disenchant on one of the aforementioned cards. Do we Counterspell this? They could have a Red Blast. I think we do actually Counterspell this one. Because we already have something we want to spend our Disenchant on. No Red Blast. We've got Prohibit to hit anything else they fire in here. They've only got 5 cards in their graveyard. Are they going to call our bluff this time? Haha. Let's animate this. If they want to spend double burn spells on our factory, I'll take it. I think they'll just let this go through and ping us for 1. That would be my assumption here. They're going to overload it. I guess we could prohibit this overload. Doesn't mean they're still getting the damage in, unfortunately. But we get to keep our land around, which I think is worthwhile. They're getting close to threshold for the Barbarian Ring. And our life total is taking a bit of a crunching here. Another Curse Scroll. Powder Keg looking like a good draw now. A Mana Leak. We can make 2 1/1s. That's not very exciting. Don't think the Humility is doing us much good. We can't make a 4/4 yet. We can't stop them from spinning both scrolls because they can only spin one. So blowing up one doesn't actually make a difference here. Not yet, anyway. Are we going to have to plow this Mog Fanatic? Another Mog Fanatic. Are you kidding me? Okay. Are we just going to spin this Decree? Seems less than ideal. They can curse scroll one of the tokens, ping one down, and still get through the 1 damage and maintain a Mog Fanatic, but it will cost them something. Ugh, I don't like this very much. Without the big sideboard haymakers like Rule of Law, sorry, Sphere of Law, and stuff like that, it feels quite difficult in here. Can I block? Now, they sacrifice a Mog Fanatic to kill one. It's kind of the same either way, isn't it? Yep, so they're using a curse scroll activation. We also get information about what's in their hand, which can be useful. A Ball Lightning. Wowzers, trousers. Glad we've held on to this Lightning Bolt. Sorry, this Swords of Plowshares, not Lightning Bolt. Our opponent is the one who's probably holding on to Lightning Bolts. What are we doing here? I could cast Humility, but then still be taking a hit from this Mog Fanatic. I don't feel like we've got a lot of good options. We don't have Exalted Angels in our build either, so the closing power and the lifelink there is not something that we have access to. A Ball Lightning. Do I convert this Mana Leak? Or do I just point this plow at it? I think we just point the plow. They can't spin the scroll now, so we should be able to factory and take this out. Okay, plow. Activate the factory. They do have 7 cards actually, so they can Barbarian Ring if they shoot this before we go to blocks. But then they're losing that Barbarian Ring and we're saving 2 life. I'm cool with that. Makes them have less mana, so Mana Leak is more likely to do stuff. Pump itself. So we saved ourselves a little bit of damage there. We are still going to take this one. This Mog Fanatic has done so much damage. Secretly the best card in the burn decks, because you just go, it's just a Mog Fanatic. Okay, that was probably the best draw in our entire deck. I will take that. Let's go for the Keg. Need them to not overload this. We might have to Mana Leak and overload. We're almost stable. A land is probably not what they wanted. Problem is we don't have the closing power right now. I'll activate the factory. This saves us 1 life probably. They could curse scroll this, because we are just going to have to turn this sideways like 11 times at this moment. So it's actually going to save us 2 life, I think, because this curse scroll not going to our face. I would have just pinged this for 1, because it's going to die next turn to Powder Keg anyway. And then you don't miss your 2 damage with this. Barbarian Ring is our last card in hand. That's some damage we can't counterspell. Alright, so they're just going to ping it down here. So we are saving 3 damage, but we don't have a clock of our own. Okay, that's fine. It's obviously not great, but it's what we have. So the Powder Keg is up and running. I think... I really don't want to have to play this Humility off of these 2 white sources. I don't think it's worth it. Alright, let's blow up these curse scrolls before they can activate. We know they've got a Barbarian Ring in hand. I don't think we can just go to 6 here. This Mana Leak is steadily losing value, but it can still counter a Ball Lightning, which is one of the scarier things they can have. Although I guess if they play this and then go for the Ball Lightning, it doesn't counter it at all. So maybe we do need to get this. Do I want to Dust Bowl this Barbarian Ring? They're just going to fire it off anyway, which is the problem. But it does mean our Mana Leak is on. But then we have less mana. Okay, we have a second Mana Leak now. Feeling a touch safer. What we really need is just a big Decree. We can do one for 4. But we have to go shields down. I guess we let the Seal of Fire in because the Mana Leaks just aren't valid counterspells against it right now. Hydroblast. Okay. So we're currently an effective 4. So a single Fire Blast kills us. A land for our opponent. If they're going to continue to keep bricking off, that's good for us. I think we just impulse in our opponent's end step and hold up as much permission as we can. Because a lot of their stuff is still sorcery speed, whether it's Ball Lightnings or other creatures, Sulfuric Vortex. Not that we have to answer the Sulfuric Vortex with a counterspell. We do have to pay 1 life though. If we get a window to leverage a Mana Leak, I'm going to take it on anything. Let's impulse. Kor Haven. This is a creature, isn't it? I'll just take the Prohibit. Just shields up as much as we can. Just answer everything and hope they don't draw nothing but Barbarian Rings. Swords to Plowshares. I think we're going to clean up, and I think we're discarding... I think it's the Humility. A Cursed Scroll. No thank you. A Lightning Bolt. Also, no thank you. If they've got Fire Blast, we are just dead here. really want these mana leaks to do something. A Sulfuric Vortex. You can have that one because we've got an answer for it in hand. It's not a free answer because we don't have any planes. Another Disenchant. So we've got the next Sulfuric Vortex covered, but again, it will still chip us in for 1. We could make some angels and then plow our own angel. But then we have to spend so much life getting the angels because we don't have any white sources. The amount of damage that people's mana bases do to them in Premodern is another reason why Sly can punch up sometimes. Another Disenchant. Like, we've made it to turn 16. I think that alone is an accomplishment. Certainly our opponent drawing lots of lands hasn't hurt. A Grim Lavamancer. Sure, that's a thing we have an answer for in our hand. Again, it still chips in for 1 damage. Which now means they only need to find 2 damage somewhere to kill us. I guess we didn't need to do that then. We could have waited to see if we drew a plains. If we draw exactly plains now, that was going to be a big punish. We didn't. Okay. It ended up not mattering, but still. It just feels like we're just slowly waiting for our opponent to finish us off. A Lightning Bolt. This is lethal, so I guess we fight over it with a mana leak. And they pay. Then we fight over it with another mana leak. And then any burn spell kills us. Alright, we're done there. I think this matchup largely comes down to how much you want to prepare for it. Like, I think on the MTG decks data, it's like an even matchup, I think. But if you've got the tools, you've got your Exalted Angels, you've got your Sphere of Law, that sort of thing in your sideboard, then you're going to win this one more often than not. But if you don't have those, like we don't, we're going to be an absolute dog in the matchup. And that is what happened. So on to round number 3. Sure, I'll keep this one. Lead off on the tower. And then we have Plow or Counterspell for turn 2. If nothing happens, we can just convert an AK. And then we can convert the next one a little bit later on. Cephalic Colosseum. Interesting. Let's play out this island. What are we doing with the Cephalic Colosseum? It's sometimes a spicy one-of in Stiflenaught decks. Doesn't look like that's what we're doing here, though. Is this like a Growatog list, which has got like a spicy one-of Cephalic Colosseum? Could certainly see that. Oh, a Dark Ritual. So we're doing something in the combo ballpark. Gotcha. A Deep Analysis. Sure. Polluted Delta. Nothing else going on there. So if we convert this AK, we go up to 7 cards in hand. We already have a land to drop. Should have converted that AK, but I did press the wrong button on my keyboard. I think we're still sitting relatively pretty with the resources we have. An Opt. Deep Analysis. Dark Ritual. City of Brass. Cephalic Colosseum. What is going on over here? Is this like a Buried Alive combo deck? That would be a reason to put Dark Ritual alongside the other spells we're seeing. Or is this some kind of Iggy Pop deck? That would make sense. I haven't played against the Iggy Pop deck very much because it's quite an uncommon deck choice. Alright, let's cash in this AK that we should have cashed in last turn. Alright, Dust Bowl. I like the Dust Bowl. Show our opponent what sort of player we are. Let's Dust Bowl them in a minute. Sure, you can Deep Analysis. We've got a lot of cards over there. There's a Recoup. Another card that is clearly combo-centric in what it's trying to do. So they're going to have to go to clean up here. Although I can blow up one of their lands, which I will do. I'm going to get rid of this plains. They're not going to be attacking our mana base here. Now we just cut them off of a load of colours. At least 2 colours that we know of. Intuition, Ill-Gotten Gains, yeah. So Recoup has Flashback itself, but it's quite expensive. So we're not going to need a bunch of these white cards in our hand. So what I will do is Factual Fiction in our opponent's end step if we get the opportunity. They do have a Cephalic Colosseum spin as well. Right, it's just Factual Fiction here. I'm happy to just discard these white cards to hand size. Their combo is a Sorcery Speed combo. Okay, so we've got a Counterspell, which I would like. I would also like some lands. Alright, I'll take the Counterspell and a land. It'll do. We can do the same thing next turn and just use the Factual Fiction to cycle through these white cards that we don't need in the matchup. An Intuition. Am I supposed to counter Intuition? I don't think so. I haven't played against Iggy Pop very much. I think I've only played against it once since Premodern came to being online, which is kind of wild. They really want a Lotus Petal, do they? Alright, let's get rid of this Plow. They are just a Brain Freeze deck, so they might be able to amass just a critical Brain Freeze turn at some point as well. Unlikely, but it can happen. We're very susceptible to milling as a slow sort of grindy control deck that doesn't close the game quickly. Lion's Eye Diamond. They are arcane denying the Lion's Eye Diamond. Fact or fiction, we're looking for another blue source. A Prohibit. I'll take the bigger pile this time, because we need our second blue source. Doing a little brain freeze action. Yeah, that's what I mean. They can just do some little mini brain freezes. They've gotten rid of all of our decrees. No. Okay. Let's impulse. I'm going to take another island here. No, we can put one of these on the bottom. Take a mana leak, I think. To draw some more cards here. Let's deploy another blue source. Keep tabs on how much we have left to fetch. Okay, it is just one more island. Okay. 1, 2. So we have blue, 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 blue. That's counterspell, counterspell. I think this is fine. The other option here is to take out their gemstone mine. But that's quite a big... Oh my God. I just got a lag spike and clicked through my attack step. That is annoying. We're keeping one Wrath of God just in case they have a weird hunting pack line, which they can do from the sideboard. Sleight of hand. You got it. It could just be casting a couple of spells and then rolling that into a brain freeze. The Lotus Petal they wanted earlier off of their intuition. I guess I could just disenchant this Lotus Petal. Just take away a resource they have. I think we might be able to break up a Lion's Eye Diamond chain with it though. We don't really want too many spells. We've cast 2 spells here. Third spell and then they just pop off. Alright, let's go and get this last island out of our deck. No more planes in our deck, so we have to be careful about what we're sacking to the Dust Bowl. If we are doing Dust Bowl things. Let's actually attack with it this time. Right. Our opponent should be on 2 less life than they are. We've gone opt. So we have triple counterspell for this turn. Can continue on this little journey of ours. They don't need a very high storm to kill us. They can also use the Cephalid Colosseum targeting us. They have a Lion's Eye Diamond. This gives us a window to maybe disenchant this. A Dark Ritual. Alright, so we can disenchant this Lion's Eye Diamond right now. Now, you got a lot of mana. Rain of Filth. You got loads of mana. They're going to brain freeze me. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's pretty much lethal, isn't it? Alright, let's counterspell one of these copies. I think they've got enough mana to recoup and then fire another brain freeze. Recoup is sorcery only, right? But they can just go get back the ill-gotten gains. And that will kill us as well. And then we mill a bunch of cards. They just had another brain freeze anyway. Alright. Yeah, this one seems tough because we don't have the quick lock that we would like. I don't think we have meddling mages, which is another thing we'd really like in this matchup as well. What does seem good here? I like the Tormod's Crypt. The Annul can counter Lion's Eye Diamond, which is like a relatively important part of their plan. We've got a bunch of stuff that is bad here. So take out the Plows. Take out the Wraths and the Humility. We get to have one of these back in. Do they have enough red spells to justify Hydroblast? Not really. It's just recoup, right? That's pretty much it. Just another disenchant, I guess, is the only thing that makes sense. That actually does something, unless we want this Thawing Glaciers, so we can just keep making land drops. No, I'll take disenchant. We want maximum interaction, I think. Some counter spells and an actual way of closing the game out. That seems pretty important. I don't feel like this is a particularly good matchup for us. Like, we're quite weak to brain freeze style strategies anyway. And our opponent's got some hand disruption as well. We're not very good at clocking them, which is what you need to do against combo decks. You can't just try and control them unless you've got some prison style pieces, which we certainly don't have. Just make a bunch of land drops, make some aggro, and move on with our life. A Cabal Ritual. Sure. A Deep Analysis. Are we just supposed to, like, cut them off? I don't think so. A Lotus Petal. Just let that one hang. If I had an Annul, I'd fire it off, but we don't. Okay, we've got an Annul now. We've got Mana Leak and Counterspell. Counterspell and Annul. Mana Leak and Annul. Those are our options. And we just want to make a couple more land drops and then put through power into play. Flash them out of Deep Analysis. We are. Maybe this is where we're supposed to fight. I don't really have a lot of experience against this deck, so my metrics are not the most useful. Fact or Fiction is pretty useful. I think getting in 2 power here, if our opponent does nothing, is reasonable. This is what we need. We need a clock, otherwise we're just going to lose this game. Is our opponent able to combo off over the top instant speed? Ooh, Tormod's Crypt. I like that for us. It's the, do we play around Duress or do we play around ways of getting this out of play? I think we're going to play around the Duress and just play out the Crypt in a second. It stops the ill-gotten gains lines, but that's not actually what we're worried about, because those lines are quite all-in and easy for us to disrupt. They're good against non-blue decks. But against blue decks like ours, they just want to play a bunch of spells and just cast a couple of Brain Freezers here and there and kill us. Hopefully our clock will be enough. We'll see an Intuition or something in the end step. This Mana Leak is certainly losing its potential. Maybe we're supposed to fire this off earlier, just to make sure it actually did something. Do I want to just counterspell this? I think so. We've seen some recoup lines and some nonsense like that I'm a little bit worried about. Oh, an Arcane Denial, you say. Let's actually use this Mana Leak for something. And now we've got the counterspell still held up. They could Dark Ritual over the top here. Nope, we just get to stop their spell. They took a point of pain off the City of Brass. If they tap it one more time, it takes a turn off the clock. Sleight of hand, you can go back to your cantripping ways. We've got a Dark Ritual. I think we allow this Dark Ritual to do its thing. A Rain of Filth. You got a lot of mana. What are you doing with it? We've got a Counterspell. We've got a Tormod's Crypt. So we've kind of got this ill-gotten gains line covered. Merchant Scroll. This probably goes just to find them the Brain Freeze. Storm count is 4. I'm okay for them to mill us 15 cards. Have double Brain Freeze, then a little bit less good. But we're still not dead yet. Just have enough turns to do 10 damage if that's the case. Alright, they're sacrificing all of their stuff. So they're going all in on whatever this play is. An Intuition. Get 2 more Brain Freezes. There's a Storm 6. Storm 7 will be enough. If they're just getting more Brain Freezes, we probably need to say no to this. Because they can mill us for 30 cards. That's fine. We've got ill-gotten gains covered with this Tormod's Crypt anyway. If they just happen to have another Brain Freeze in hand already, then we're dead. But this will guarantee them a Brain Freeze in hand. So we can't let that resolve. So here is one of them Brain Freezes. You got another one? They did have another one. So this will... 8 times 3 is 24. That's exactly lethal. And we're dead. Yep, that seems like a real tough matchup for us. According to MTG decks, it's a 25% win rate matchup. So I don't feel bad that we lost that one. We definitely made a couple of decisions that we could have done differently, but it does feel just structurally very hard for us to overcome what our opponent's doing. Alright, on to round number 4. Well, we can't keep this hand. Let's mulligan. Ugh. Why are we getting so many horrible opening hands with 26 lands? Okay, this works. Do we just hold on to this Factual Fiction as a thing that we can work with later? We've got to put back 2 cards, though. We don't even have the second blue for this. Maybe we should put back the 4-drop when we can't cast it. Maybe just keep the spells that we can cast. Alright. Tried and tested. Let's keep the spells that we can cast. Our opponent is also mulled to 5. Which might mean they're doing something combo-y that we need to interact with very, very quickly. Right, I'm just going to lead off on this island. Make our opponent immediately start playing around counterspells that we don't currently have. Possibly buy us some time as they change their play patterns. Alright, my guess is going to be HFEB here. Pose of Paradise. Hidden Herb. Whenever opponent plays a non-basic land, they get a 3/3. Alright, I don't really know what you're doing there, opponent. Let's play this one out. I don't think we need to play this Powder Keg just yet. I'd like to see what my opponent's doing. I'd like to secure a land drop that is a basic if we can. Treetop Village. Blue mana. Seal of Removal. Oh, is this the Enchantress build? This is like Femaref Enchantress, which is like an aggro deck that uses auras and a bunch of stuff like that. I think that's what we're looking at here. So if we play this one out, which we definitely want to do, our opponent does get this Hidden Herd, but we can just take 1 hit from it and then move on with our life. I think that's okay. Enjoy your herd. We'll leave up the source to Plowshares very obviously to our opponent. They can save their own creature with the Seal of Removal. Just Seal of Cleansing. You got it. So we're going to lose our Powder Keg, I would assume. They'll probably attack first, so that maybe we think they're not going to blow up our Powder Keg. So we're less likely to remove this. Or they're going to get some free damage in. Now they pop this, yep. I don't think we have to remove this straight away, because they have like a card draw engine that is a lot scarier for us. A Prohibit. Okay, so now we've got the Prohibit. That gives us a little bit of safety. Try this Adarkar Wastes, so we can plow this and then Prohibit their creature. Now they can just bounce this if they want to. We've got the treetop village covered with this dust bowl in our hand. If they're just animating this treetop village though, they are. Will I trade my factory for their treetop village? It's kind of the same as doing a dust bowl thing. Alright, let's see if they want the trade. Because they might just pop their own seal. So they could seal their own treetop village if they want to. They could seal our factory and then they get the trample through. I think I would rather actually take out this hidden herd. Alright, we just got the trade-off. We've got this covered if we need it to be. They're not going to be a deck with reach, so we can stabilise on quite a low life total. Right, let's play a Dust Bowl, see if that changes the way our opponent approaches things. If they spend a whole turn doing Treetop Village, we can try and Dust Bowl, but if they just Seal of Removal it, then we've kind of traded Dust Bowl for a Seal of Removal, and that doesn't feel great. Prohibit, what is this going to be? It's probably going to be Sylvan Library, so if we count the thing that comes off of it, it kind of feels like a better play. Because this is card disadvantage to use this. Could be Enchantress's Presence, which we can counter. Alright, it is just a Sylvan Library as we predicted. Well, they've been chipping in at us, but their own City of Brass has been doing a number on them as well. Right, we're just activating the Treetop Village, are we? Is it time to interact with this? I don't think so. I think we can just take another 3. See what our opponent does, make some choices at the end step. Because I want to spend a green mana here, I think. I could hit this now. Right, let's see if they Seal of Removal this. They might do. If they're only paying free green source. But then they won't be able to play it next turn. Sorry, they won't be able to tap it next turn. Yep, so they're just going to Seal of Removal it. I'd much rather trade my Source to Plowshares with a seal than one of my lands with a seal. Okay. We've got a hard counter for their library, which they're probably going to play this turn. We do need to find some card advantage. Another AK or a Factual Fiction would be good. I wonder how Standstill would have been if we had that instead of the AK. We'd probably just get killed by their Hidden Herd and Treetop Village. They wouldn't have been able to really do anything with this. If they do nothing, we'll just Dust Bowl their Treetop Village at end step. Otherwise, we'll just hold up this Prohibit. A Birds of Paradise. Don't care about you. Alright, let's Dust Bowl this Treetop Village. There's no Teferi's Response available here. An Impulse. We've hit our land dot, so we don't need to do that now. We can just chill out, try and impulse our way into some useful pieces. Aura of Silence. Do I even care about Aura of Silence? No? Sure. You can blow up my Humility, I guess. I think I'm going to Dust Bowl next turn, maybe. Let's see what we can work with here. Okay, I'll take an AK. And then we'll immediately convert the AK at the end step. Gas back up. More counterspells. Our opponent has no threats in play. And we've just drawn another card draw spell. Yep. Also like the nature of when you cast an AK, you immediately get the cards from it. Whereas Standstill, you can cast it and then you don't necessarily get the cards immediately, so you don't have a plan to construct around it. Let's accumulate knowledge. Dust Bowl this. I don't want a Mishra's Factory. It's just going to die through Aura of Silence, isn't it? Get this Coastal Tower in. We've got some counter magic available. Our opponent is not really doing anything. We could use the Mishra's Factory to bait out the Aura of Silence activation, which is probably what we're going to end up doing. And we can slam a Humility. We kind of want them to play a non-basic land first, so that if they blow up the factory, we can then convert that into a wasteland effectively to our opponent. But they're probably just not going to play out non-basic lands in the face of our Dust Bowl anyway. I tell a lie, maybe they will. Okay, which one is newly controlled? This one is newly controlled. So this one tap for mana. This will become a creature. And we'll turn it sideways. If you blow it up, you lose your reflecting pool. Source to Plowshares. Sure, same difference, I guess. 1, 2, 3. We're still holding up a counterspell here. So we're just leveraging that into a 2-for-1 instead of just immediately Dust Bowl in their land. Just eking out all of the little card advantage we can. If our opponent does nothing, we can Impulse. We've got a hard counter for small stuff and a hard counter for big stuff effectively, because they're not going to be able to pay. Right, is this Sylvan Library time? Armadillo Cloak. Do I care about this? It could be irritating. Alright, I'm willing to just say no to that one. They've already played a land, so they can't play the library here, which we know is one of the cards in their hand. Do I fire him with the factory again? I think so. If you want to pop your Aura of Silence and let me get a nice 2-for-1, I'll take it. We're doing a plow again. Okay. Again, just burying our opponent in cards. And then at some point, we'll win the game. If our opponent does nothing, we can turn this Impulse into something else. Hard Counterspell, a Plow. We've already got some counter magic in hand. I think the Plow is going to be more use to us. We don't really have a way of winning the game yet, which is something I've noticed repeatedly with this deck, which isn't really a surprise because we are like the slow grinding control deck where our win conditions are kind of buried in our lands. A Seal of Cleansing. Okay, we don't have to care about that. At some point we'll find a decree and that will win us the game. A Fact or Fiction. Sure. Happy to cast that in our opponent's end step. We can cast it now and just get some extra lands to deploy this turn, but there's not really a rush. A Wild Mongrel, you say? Don't want to convert this mana leak while we still can. Sure. I'll take your threat out. We could save the Plow for this as well. We're about to Fact or Fiction and gas up. Alright, what would you like me to have? Probably just take the big pile. Yeah, I'm going to take the big pile if they leave it like this. We've already got a Counterspell. We're just looking for the thing that turns the corner and wins us the game, which is the decree. Put the Flooded Strand they know about. And pass it over. We've got a hard counter. We can just start disenchanting these auras if we want to. If we're really indexed on getting this humidity down. But I don't think it's necessary. Is it library time? It is library time. We can just let that in and just use our disenchant on it. Since we've got two of them. Don't really want to draw lands here, so I'm just going to take a land out of our deck. How many fetchables left? A few. Take another island. We've got plenty of planes now. Okay, we're just chilling. I don't think we needed to counter the mongrel when we did. An Anurid Brushhopper. You got it. How do you feel about a Source to Plowshares on your Anurid Brushhopper? You can discard your hand to save it, but then I'm getting a 2-for-1 with my Source to Plowshares, which plays exactly into my strategy of just having more cards than you at all points at all times. Right, and just letting it go. Reasonable enough. I could plow this birds and just take them off of a colour. Ooh, Fact or Fiction is nice. But we've seen they've got a few little creatures that can turn sideways. So I think we're just going to save this for the creatures that turn sideways. A Rancor. Well, if you're going to force my hand like that, I will plow your creature. And take you off of mana as well. And just getting another 2-for-1. This entire game has just been me getting 2-for-1s, my opponent just having a miserable time. The control way of life right there. Alright, are they going to scoop to this Fact or Fiction? I guess it depends how good it is. Okay, I will take the pile with the Decree of Justice in, I believe. They might do a 1-4 split. I will still take the thing that lets us close this game out. Alright, you can give me a bonus card alongside it. I would have taken it in a 1-4 split. The other Wrath of God, sure. This is, in our opponent's end step, we make, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 power. That's almost a 2-turn clock. Not quite, though. If we untap here without anything happening, I think we are fine. They have a window to cast something now we're tapped out, but it has to be an instant. And I don't think it's going to be many instants that we care about. Yep. Didn't think so, opponent. More card advantage. Sure, why not? This game should end pretty quickly. We are slightly up on clock. Not by much, like sort of 20 seconds. So we're playing at a good enough pace. Found a land. Let's just Dust Bowl it straight away. No lands for you. We've got 2 hard counter spells. And then an emergency draw 4 cards as well if we need it to find another answer. I don't believe our opponent's got any recourse. Bit of a dismantling there. Alright. So yeah, this looks like the Femaref Enchantress build where they play a bunch of auras to pump up their creatures. I think that's what we're looking at here. Which means Annuls and the Disenchant look pretty good. What looks bad? Powder Keg, maybe? Are they going to keep in a bunch of ways of destroying our enchantments? Because if they are, then the Powder Keg looks less exciting. Can we just bin off these and just try and answer all the things they do? Let's see how this feels. Yeah, this hand seems alright. If they start off with something really aggressive, we could be in a bit of trouble, but hopefully the factory can kind of mitigate that a little bit. We've got some basics to dodge Hidden Herd being a problem for a little while as well. Means we might be playing the factory on 1, just so that we've got something that can stand in front of our opponent's creatures without triggering Hidden Herd if they don't play it on turn 1. Okay, they did play the Hidden Herd on turn 1, so we don't need to play our factory out for a little bit. Our white source being locked underneath the non-basics is a touch awkward for us. Because if we go and fetch the plains to plough something else, they get the hidden herd. Or rather, we play the Flooded Strand to fetch the plains, then they get the hidden herd. Is it Femeref Enchantress time? Argothian Enchantress. Right, let's just sit back on this Prohibit or AK. Work our way towards the Wrath of God. They're not as scary as the regular Enchantress deck. They're not just going to create an insurmountable advantage in the same way. They are an aggro deck, basically. A Wild Mongrel. We're not really in a position to deal with that right now. It also didn't draw them a card. So this is the turn where if we want a white source, it's going to cost us the hidden herd coming around. Alright, that's fine. It's not ideal. The other option there we had was to crack the AEK and see if we found the land. But I want our opponent to respect us having counter magic. Just fetching now because we're always getting that white source. We don't know if our opponent's doing something weird that might make it harder for us to fetch. I don't know. Rancor on the hidden herd. Sure. I will blow this out and get a nice little 2-for-1, which undoes the card you got off the Enchantress. Oh, we're protecting it, are we, with something? Mana Leak. Was not expecting a Mana Leak out there. Sure. So we're probably going to get AK into Humility. And then we can be the Enchantress deck. 5 is a big chunk, though. They had to delete their own Gemstone Mine and take them off of the colours. Okay, they've got white mana back. Let's just recycle this. A Counterspell. Okay, we could plough this. And they get the Rancor back, which is annoying. I think I'm going to take a turn off. Just shut off their card advantage engine. And then we can deal with this guy if we want to. With double factory, we can beat a 3-1. I don't know how many seals and auras our opponent's going to have in their deck. I imagine they're still going to have at least one seal. Right, we're firing up the Treetop Village. And the aggro's getting in. I'll get the Enchantress, able to get the bits in for once. Get in the red zone, Enchantress. Enjoy this rare experience. Alright, let's play this factory. So we're on factory plus swords and counterspell. Activating the Treetop Village. Sure. Let's animate this. I think we go block here, plough the village, and then next turn we can use the factory to pump the other factory, and then we have a 4-4 on blocks, which will be... Actually, no, we won't have a 4-4 on blocks because this can't pump itself. We'll have a 3-3 on blocks. Because as soon as you turn it into a creature, does it lose its ability to pump itself? It does. What a weird card Humility is. I mean, obviously still trade. Wouldn't feel ideal to do that, but we can counterspell the next threat that comes along and then just start gassing up again and try and stabilize at 3 life. Or 2 life once we've cracked this fetch. We got a Wild Mongrel. I'm not ready for you yet. I know it's just a 1-1. And maybe that's a bit overzealous. Or they're not even attacking here. Huh. I think I'm willing to spend a life to Factual Fiction and gas up again. Ooh, a lot of 1-1s. That feels quite strong. They don't like us having the Dust Bowl. This would be a very wild 4-1 split. I assume they're going to move some stuff around a bit more. If I can get the Decree and the Dust Bowl, that would be good. If not, I will certainly take a Manland and a Decree. Okay, Manland and a Decree it is. I do love Factual Fiction as a card. I liked Sauron's Ransom when that was the thing as well. Oh. Mana Leak and Decree. I'll take the Mana Leak and Decree as well if you give me that. I would like the Manland. But we already have 2 Manlands, which is a decent chunk. I think splitting the lands from the Decree makes sense. You could go full lands and spells here. I'm just going to take the Mana Leak, because that covers us for the next thing our opponent does. We've already got this in check with a factory. And then if they do nothing, we can just make some friends. A Faerie Conclave. So they know we have a Mana Leak. A Birds of Paradise. This is just a 1-1 guy. That's fine. I don't think they're attacking here. I didn't attack last turn. I don't think we're cycling Decree this turn. I think it's excusable to cycle the Decree there. I'll play this rather than play the fetch land. I don't want to have to spend life to get a mana because singular points of damage matter when you're underneath a Humility. I'll go through Enchantress. This is just a 1-1. You can have a 1-1. We're going to make a bunch of guys. Like when you see people who are actually good at playing these Landstill sort of decks, like when they know how to turn the corner is really cool. Like I really like watching Neon Mushroom playing Landstill. Whereas I'm not really a Landstill player, so I'm kind of just feeling my way. And we're not even playing full-on Landstill either. Do I just have a little poke in with the factory, with the conclave here? It does still have flying, so let's get in for 3. This is a 7-turn clock. We get to hold back a lot of resources. We've got mana leak plus factories. Sure, if we're just trading bits off, that's fine. My deck is designed to play the trading game. It feels like our opponent's been testing the waters to try and see if we'll react with something. We're playing out a bunch of not that exciting spells. Let's get in for 3. We've got mana leak plus 5 blockers. Alright, taking the 3. We could play out this Flooded Strand. I suppose it's not really doing us any good in our hand. I just kind of mentally put that to one side so I don't accidentally play it and click it and kill myself with it. Pegasus Stampede. It's a 2-mana 1/1. I'm just going to get in with the factory this time. I want to trade a bunch of stuff for the factory. They're welcome to. Because we can pump it still. Right, let's play this Flooded Strand out and try not to click it. If we draw a Dust Bowl, we can sack it. Obviously, we need a target first, but... A Sylvan Library. I'd like to annul your Sylvan Library, please. I wouldn't mind drawing another AK here. A few extra cards going for a cheap rate. Alright, 6 more turns of this. We've got 2 counter spells. If things get too much for us, we can always just Wrath of God as well. As they draw more mana sources, the mana leaks have a little bit less use to them. Our opponent's going to struggle to push through them. 3 mana. This is another 1/1. So you can have a 1/1. The purpose of the humility is that we don't have to care about what our opponent's creatures are. We just need to count them. So if we were to Wrath here, it would cost us a life point. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Wrath. Hold up. Double mana leak. That's probably fine, isn't it? If I attack with all of these creatures. If they trade a bunch of stuff off, that's also interesting. They should know that a Wrath is coming. But if they block all of these, then I don't need to Wrath. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation there. Right, let's go to 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wrath of God. Just clean your board out. You get your Rancor back. We've got mana leak, Annul to hold up this turn. And then we can start shipping in. We can ship in for 2 this turn, then we can ship in for 6 on the following turn. Or we can ship in for 3 this turn, and then ship in for 5 the next turn. A Hidden Gibbons. Whenever your opponent plays an instant spell, it becomes a 4/4 ape. How does that work under humility? I honestly don't know. Am I going to be cowardly and mana leak this? I think I am. Dromar's Cavern. So this is the Esperland. Alright. We're going to see something wild here. An Engineered Plague. Don't even know if I care that much about this one. I'm just going to say no. And I think we're doing a big send here. Alright, this can become an assembly worker. This can become an assembly worker. So we need to hold up 2 mana leaks. So this is the mana for the 2 mana leaks. So we don't get to get in with the conclave. But this is them dead next turn with a double mana leak to stop anything coming into play. So I think we've done enough to win this one. Bit of a grindy one, but that's what we signed up for today. Alright, they've scooped it up. Nice little match win to get us on the board. We've got 1 round to go. Let's see if we can get another one there. I feel that the one that got nullified was actually one that we were going to win as well, which is a little bit awkward. Nevertheless, let's go to the final round. Yeah, I think we can keep this one. We've got 2 lands. We've got some nice removal spells. We've got a piece of counter magic that we can leverage. We can get right in the bin when our opponent just double wastelands us to begin the game. Adarkar Wastes. We could be in a mirror here. Phyrexian Furnace. This is likely to be the big blue-white control deck that doesn't run Standstill. That would be my assessment. They also run main deck Sarbo's Web, which is going to be absolutely brutal for us. Dust Bowl is a pretty nice pickup. Not that we can really do very much with it right now. An Impulse. Alright. We just need to keep making land drops. That's what this matchup is going to be all about. And we're going to be here for the full hour probably on this one. I would like to draw a land off of this Impulse, please. I will take an island, I think. Turns on things like Counterspell that we can draw. Impulse. Looks like we're looking for another land. All we want to do is just make land drops. And then eventually win the game. If our opponent blinks first and plays something, that's probably going to go poorly for them. Alright, they're just cashing in their Furnace for an extra card. Does that mean they needed the land drop? If they're cracking their land here, it means they're either casting a spell or they've got too many lands in hand. And they don't want to draw another one. Yep, I figured it was probably doing something with a spell, considering too many lands in hand is a very difficult thing to have in this matchup. Right, there are definitely people that, if they knew that this was the matchup they're playing, they would keep a hand of just 7 lands. And they'd be right to do so, I reckon. That used to be one of the old metrics. Let's have a look. I would like this Mishra's Factory. Just keep making land drops. Keep moving things forward. A Disenchant, that's good against a potential Sawa's Web that our opponent might be trying to get going here. If we just keep finding lands and use this Dust Bowl, we'll be good. They're not going to have that many... Ooh! A Swamp. Our opponent's doing something different to what I suspected. Trying to convert a Fact or Fiction here. Although you've got 6 cards in hand. Sure, you can discard most of these cards. Lands or spells, I guess. Like, the spells aren't even very good. Honestly, 2 lands versus 1 land is basically what this pile is. They're probably going to have to go to clean up anyway. If they had fewer cards in hand, we would be countering this Fact or Fiction. But they've gone up to 9 cards. They're about to go up to 10 cards. There's no way they can convert these into anything. They're just going to have to pitch a bunch of cards. But that's sometimes what you have to do to make land drops. A Vindicate, you say. Vindicating the Dust Bowl. I will just get a little 2-for-1 here and blow up your Adarkar Wastes. Are you going to play a Sabo's Web now? That'd be a mean thing to do. They did not play the Sabo's Web. Okay, so we get to untap here. I would very much like to find a land. So I managed to convert a decent chunk of those cards. Land. It was a land. Thank you, deck. Well, they've just got blew up. I'm going to take my free chip shot here. We've still got Mana Leak plus Source to Plowshares or Disenchant plus Source to Plowshares as options. Underground River. You got it. So now attacking seems like a less good option because we know they've got a plow as well. We got a chip shot in where we could. Drawing the old Mana Leak here. Not the ideal. We need a land. We just need to draw land every turn. Oh yes, give me something so I don't have to... Okay. I'll Mana Leak this because it saves me going to discard. Alright. Play an island. Good for you. Yes, an island for us as well. Beautiful stuff. Duress. Yeah, Duress is good. Our hand's pretty Duress proof though. We've got a lot of redundancy apart from this Counterspell. So I suspect the Mana Leak might be the thing that goes here. But we don't know how important Humility is against what they're doing. Maybe they just think we need to grind through these Fact or Fictions. Alright, I took a plow. Huh. Did not see that one coming. I could try and go for a Fact or Fiction here. We don't need to though. The mistake a lot of people make is doing things. What a piece of life advice right there. But you know what I mean. In a lot of matchups, especially when you're playing a deck that doesn't have to do something every turn. It's not like we're an aggro deck where the window closes for us. It's all about jockeying for position. And just like spaffing off a card for no reason doesn't seem great here. We could fire in a Fact or Fiction that we don't think is going to resolve. That will stop us going to clean up. No, I think we'll just try and draw a land. Oh, we didn't draw a land. I'm just going to clean up, see if our opponent does anything in the end step. Yes, do something in the end step. Give me a conversion on my card. No, they didn't. Hard to decide what goes here. Maybe it's a Mana Leak because they're dwindling in their usefulness. Do I want to just fire in a Fact or Fiction? I don't think it's going to resolve. I really don't even want to cast this, but I don't know, maybe this is just me getting in my own head a little bit. I'm going to fight over this. Dromar's Charm. Counter target spell. Do I want to fight over this? Am I happy just to let this go? Then we just hold up what we have here. And then we just try and cash in an AK. So there might be some sort of Psychotog deck. And that's why I took the plow. Let's just recycle this AK. I don't think our opponent's got AKs in their deck. I could be wrong though. And then we could lose the game because we cast that AK. But this game might come down to decking. An Impulse. Would I rather... I think I would rather convert a card here. But then it makes our Counterspell so much worse. No, I think we just let this go. What are we discarding in this situation? Could be a Disenchant. It's a relatively unique effect. We do have another one in our deck. We can Counterspell stuff. I'm going to go for this Disenchant. Hopefully we won't end up regretting that. I'm going to put 3 power in play in terms of these Decree of Justice tokens at the end step if we're given that opportunity. Triple Swamps. They're pretty deep in the old black. So it might be that the white is the splash rather than the black. Let's cycle my Decree. We have a win condition and another land. Beautiful stuff. Send in the clowns. They took a plow earlier and we've drawn another one, which is making me think that that's probably a good draw for us. This does feel a bit Psychotoggy, like the Esper builds. So now we're going to force them into doing some action here. Shadow Mage Infiltrator. I am okay with that. I don't think this card is very good. I think the problem with this card is this is a format defined by Mishra's Factory, which just laughs in the face of this card. Let's plow you. If we can tap you out, we can get a big hit in with factories as well. Prohibit, you say. Can we cash this Mana Leak in as well? Give me a Dromar's Charm. You got a Dromar's Charm. Okay. So now we can just slam a Factual Fiction the end step here. And then slam a Humility. Dust Bowl. It's pretty good. I think it's going to put 2 Dust Bowls V or... I think I'm just taking the big pile. I'm taking the big pile. I'm still taking the big pile. I don't believe our opponent's running foils. I don't think they are Psychotog now then. I think there's some sort of like dump truck build. Let's send in the clowns. If our opponent makes the mistake of blocking here, then they get cleaned out by this Humility that I think they've already seen. And then we can hold up double Counterspell. Yeah, it feels like we are doing a pretty good job. Decree of Silence obviously just such a beating for this sort of matchup. Because we just end up with so many takers. I don't know if our opponent's running it. Maybe they are. Do I want to play this Dust Bowl out or not? I don't think so. We're going to protect it for a little bit longer. Let's just jam with a couple of soldiers. We can make some lethal soldiers at the end of next turn. And just the uncounterable win condition. One of the best to ever do it, the old Decree. Sure, you can Factual Fiction. These cards seem bad. So what does this do? Counter target spell, gain 5 life. What do we want here? Sure, you can have some 1/1s. Alright, you're going to take the 1/1s. Good for you, I guess. Just going to have to spam some 1/1s here to stop yourself from dying, because we are presenting lethal damage here. Sure, you can have a 3-mana 1/1. You can have a morph. It's a 1/1. There's lethal damage. So they're probably going to have to start sending some plows at our creatures as well here. Alright, they've scooped it up. Yeah, just these sorts of threats versus Decree in a control-y sort of mirror. You're going to have a bad time. Do we have anything that we like here? Thawing Glaciers, it's your time to shine. This is what you were made for. I don't really see anything else here that looks good though. The Disenchant didn't really look like it had much going on. They probably have Engineered Plague out of the sideboard. I want this Powder Keg. They probably have Meddling Mages though, so you probably want the Powder Keg. This is another answer to Meddling Mage. I wish we had Meddling Mage in our deck. Wrath of God is an answer to Meddling Mage. Do we just trim an Impulse or a Mana Leak? Probably a Mana Leak. They have limited stuff. I don't think we're going to bring in Teferi's Response just for their Vindicate on one of our lands. No, I think we're just going to add the Glaciers in, get to grinding. How are we doing clockwise as well? I think we might be slightly ahead of our opponent. No, we're slightly behind our opponent. Okay. Let's try and change that. A Duress. You got it. What are you going to take here? Probably the Keg. This beautiful hand just full of lands. Right, I took the Keg. That's fine. Duress is obviously a big part of how our opponent can get one up on us. Let's just crack this now. Bit of second island. Just makes it easier to press the F6 key at times. Sure, you can impulse. That's fine. We need to claw back like 30 seconds. So if you take a little while on this impulse, that'll make me happy. Let's take the stop out of their upkeep as well. Shadow Mage Infiltrator. Mana Leak is annoying here. There's sort of like a bit of a catch-22 going on here. We can obviously Mana Leak this, but then we don't get to block the Shadow Mage like we were hoping to. Now we get a card off of this. Yeah, that's a bit annoying. Got planes and pass. So we're in this little sub-game of, I know that I can block and kill this Shadow Mage, but so does our opponent. And if they attack with it, it suggests to me that they have a Swords to Plowshares, which means, am I actually going to activate my factory in the face of it? So they could just bluff and attack here. Seal of Cleansing. Well, there's no bluff there, is there? Alright, they can get a hit with Shadow Mage Infiltrator, then we get to Factal Fiction. We are ahead on clock, though, so we've achieved something. Wow. Triple Swords to Plowshares. I guess we're getting a Swords to Plowshares. They might just go 3 plows. I don't think they will, but 2 plows, plow and Prohibit. I'll take the land. Love taking lands here. I don't want them to know about the Dust Bowl that's coming. We can take our opponent off of white pretty easily soon. Managed to grind a minute of our opponent's clock off here. A Meddling Mage. Don't like the Meddling Mage very much. Let's Prohibit this. They can tap out for another Shadow Mage. And then we can Wrath it. Interesting. For me, the prize is actually the Meddling Mage, because that's so hard to play around. As we saw in a previous game where we pretty much just lost because of Meddling Mage. I'll take this Counterspell. Let's play this. Go and get an island out of our deck. Can play Shadow Mage. Play this out so we have double Counterspell mana. Going for a Factal Fiction here? I don't think so, buddy. Say no. If they fight over this, we can fight back. Maybe they resolve something. Okay. I'm really eager to try and take the white mana off of our opponent. Colourless, colourless. Oh, we're just cycling an Eternal Dragon. Sure. That is something that we'll have to source to Plowshares at some stage. Yeah, so they're a lot more tap-out-y than we are. They're going to have better ways of actually pressuring opponents than we do. But in the head-to-head matchup, we're the draw-go deck, and that is a great place to be. Let's play the Dust Bowl. Pass, I think. We can get 2 for 1 in a sec. Alright, Prohibit. How much mana do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can't do Prohibit, Counterspell, and the Dust Bowl plan. The Dust Bowl plan is attack with Factory. When they try to blow it up, we sacrifice it to the Dust Bowl, and we get some extra value. We Enlighten Tutoring in the upkeep? No. We're buying back the dragon. Sure. That does make it difficult for us to actually Dust Bowl our opponent into Oblivion. Let's crack this in the upkeep. Just get another island. 2 more left in the deck. Another Counterspell. So we're just going to sit behind these Counterspells, and then at some point our opponent is going to face down our Decree of Justice. Yep, you cycle your dragon, that's fine. It's an expensive engine. It's a good engine. Draws some extra cards, does some stuff, makes our Dust Bowl feel kind of useless. We can take our opponent off of double black, but I don't know if double black is a big part of their life. Just cracks in the upkeep, just thin our deck slightly. Go to their island. And Decree of Justice. Alright, that's exactly the sort of thing we've been looking for. Any turn they're not doing anything, we just make a bunch of guys. So this is going to be 7 power. It's going to kill them pretty darn quickly. Put the dragon into their hand. They haven't got any Engineered Plagues they can play instant speed. I'm aware of at least. Cycle this. 1, 2, 3. I imagine our opponent's combo matchup is way better than ours. But our control matchup here is savage. We don't ever have to do anything. Factory, let's attack. Alright, we've just got 3 counter spells to protect this lethal attack for next turn. Pretty rudimentary. Yep, we don't care about you getting other planes. You know, they're going to have Duresses and Meddling Mages and early pressure against combo decks. And that's going to be real good. But against us, it's kind of laughable. Do I even care about this? I guess we could care about it a little bit. Like, they got 3 cards in hand. We know one of them is an Eternal Dragon, right? No, they cycled that. One of them is... They played the planes, didn't they? Dromar's Charm. Counter target spell. Counter spell again. Like, this is the game. And even if this doesn't work, we've got Factal Fiction to reload. So we're just so far ahead. Alright, scooping it up. Whilst the Iggy Pop matchup felt completely unwinnable for us, that one felt unlosable. Well, I guess, you know, with the right bit of tempo play where they duress us, stick a Shadow Mage Infiltrator and do some stuff, that's pretty good. But Shadow Mage Infiltrator is just not a great card because there's so many Mishra's Factories in the format which block and kill it. It's just awkward. Alright, so we finished with a 2 and 3, but I'm pretty sure we were going to win this match that got nullified, so we'll call it maybe a 3 and 3. But I really would have liked to have played that game. I think that was actually the best round of Magic we played. It was really interesting and intricate with lots of stuff going backwards and forwards. I think that was probably the most interesting round of Magic, and unfortunately we didn't get a conclusion for it. But you did get like a bonus 40-odd minutes of Magic, so I hope you enjoyed that one. So in terms of the deck, how do I feel about it? I don't think cutting the standstills to accumulate knowledge is a bad thing at all. Like, it seemed fine. There were definitely matchups where we were grateful that we had it that way around. There were matchups where we could have slammed a standstill on turn 2. but then maybe we end up going to cleanup and having to discard cards. Maybe we end up going to a situation where our opponent just drops a treetop village, and then things can get a bit weird for us. So yeah, I don't really like Standstill. I think when it looks good, it looks amazing, but the floor of that card is so low that it can lose you the game by just being in your hand or being in play. Whereas Accumulated Knowledge, the floor of this is always fine. It's always just going to be, we get a card. But then, like in the sort of mid to late game when you need to refuel, like let's say even trading resources or whatever, just drawing like an AK for 2 or 3 cards is like a massive difference to just having a Standstill that you need to be in a position where you can actually navigate it to make it work. I just don't like having to work for my card draw spells. I want my card draw spells to just draw me cards. I can fire them when I need to. And, you know, that's cool. I think a lot of the people that when they play against Standstill, the specific card Standstill, is they play into it poorly. Like they wait too long and just give the control deck some time, which is, you know, nice. But I think when you're looking at really high quality players, they're going to know the best way to handle this Standstill and treat it like a Punisher card where you give your opponent whichever the worst situation of the options that what Standstill does. Like either delay the game or just give them the cards immediately. You get to make that choice. So I think I'm definitely on board with the Accumulated Knowledge. This exact list did feel like we needed another land sometimes. I just always wanted to keep drawing lands. And we do have some like pretty intense color requirements. You know, we have blue on Counterspell. We've got some white 4-drops. So I definitely think about that. I think the main criticism I have of the deck would probably be the sideboard here. So I did just take like a Landstill deck, just gutted the 4 accumulated knowledge, the 4 Standstill and put in 4 accumulated knowledges. And I also cut one of the Thawing Glaciers in the sideboard for a Disenchant, I think. And I cut 1 Disenchant for a 3rd Fact or Fiction from the main. And I think this was one that won a big paper event recently. So I just made a few little tweaks, but I don't really like the sideboard here. I really want a 3rd Wrath of God. There are so many times where this is the card that just wins you the game, and just having another one feels great. I played against people who run 3 in the main deck and got bodied by them a few times. I also think Kor Haven, if we're doing this Accumulated Knowledge plan, is possibly one of the cards we could cut. Obviously, this has some pretty useful text against things like Dreadnought. Yes, they can stifle the ability, but they have to have the stifle. It just potentially buys you time to find other answers. Not having Meddling Mage in the sideboard or an Exalted Angel did feel a bit awkward too. Like the Hydroblasts, you know, they're reasonable, but if we can't close against a burn deck, there's no point countering their spells because eventually they're going to draw more. And if we're just sat there twiddling our thumbs, we're just going to die. Maybe like a better pilot of these sorts of decks would play things differently in that matchup and maybe find more lines to be aggressive. That's definitely something that I would be looking at. But I think I want another Wrath. I want something like a Sphere of Law, which is 3 and a white enchantment. Is that Sphere of Law? I think it's Sphere of Law. Yeah, so 3 and a white enchantment. Prevent 2 damage of every bit of red damage that gets dealt to you. Obviously, it's not worded like that. It's worded properly. But you know what I mean. So it just shuts off Sulfuric Vortex as the thing you have to care about. It shuts off most goblins as a thing you have to care about. It just completely changes the state of the game. And I would like to have access to that in the sideboard somewhere. Teferi's Response is obviously quite a useful card to protect your lands and can be a bit of a blowout. I also think just having another land can mitigate the need for Teferi's Response sometimes as well. 4 Annul is obviously quite a lot too. I definitely think we can do some other stuff with this sideboard. It feels like a sideboard that was targeted in some relatively specific ways. Like, do we need the Thawing Glaciers? Like, yes, it's useful in the control mirror, but we already have Decrees of Justice, which is good in the control mirror. Maybe we can just put some other bits and pieces in there. I think if you're playing a control mirror, you should probably just rely on being the better control pilot a lot of the time. But yeah, I think there's definitely something here. And if people who are into this sort of archetype want to spend a bit of time tweaking with the sideboard, maybe making a few little nips and tucks here and there in the main deck, maybe we don't need this Kor Haven and we can get another coloured source in, which would help us out in some situations we found ourselves in. Maybe you can squeeze in another land. Maybe you can just go up to the 61 card special and just have another land. That's probably a little bit loose, but it is an option I guess you could take because you do change your land to spells ratio slightly there. And you would technically get mana screwed slightly less. Because we had to mulligan a lot. A lot of the games we lost were because we mulliganed to like 5. And I think that is quite telling that you maybe need to make the mana base a little bit more secure so that maybe we just don't get to have this Kor Haven, because we did have to mulligan a hand because we drew the Kor Haven in it, and it didn't tap for any mana that was relevant. So I wouldn't mind having another basic chucked in there. You could do some Eternal Dragon stuff here, but I don't think there's enough planes to warrant it. If you're playing the Manland Plow, which I think is worth doing, because then you don't have to spend slots on win conditions in your main deck. But yeah, I definitely think this is a good direction. Do I think it's better than Standstill? I don't think it's as good as the ceiling of Standstill, but I think it is much better than the floor. And take what you will from that. So Landstill is a deck that has a very good win rate on like MTG decks. I think it's like 55% win rate. However, its ability to actually top 8 challenges and stuff is really low. It seems to do better on paper than it does online as well, which is another interesting thing to look at. But it does feel like it's a deck where you can just run into some stuff that just bodies you, and it can stop you getting some top 8 berths. But it's definitely a deck that can punch up in challenges and things, but I'd be interested to see if more people try out this accumulated knowledge instead of Standstill builds. Alright, thank you so much for watching this one. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.